upload it to YouTube maybe tonight, and then I can rip it and grip it. Maybe turn this main one on, yeah, because then when the sun starts to go down, at least it's there. The video one, cool. I think that's the main one right there. There you go. And maybe this one too, I guess. You don't even know which light switch is which?
No, I never do. I always forget.
I should pull up these questions now.
Oh, yeah. What was Clay's again?
Which Clay? Patreon Clay or Fanboy Clay?
Oh, never mind. Fanboy Clay. It was like which?
Should be a movie.
Yeah.
Series.
Yeah, don't let me forget about that one because it's not on the note. So, oh wow, you took a picture of us while we were walking.
I know. I just saw that. I'm like, why are we standing so far apart?
6 feet. Oh, these shorts do nothing for my butt. It's because they're not sized properly. All right, we ready to go? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 6-year anniversary of GeekVerse. I am the Clown Prince of Podcast Trust now, and I'm joined by
The friendly neighborhood caster, Kirklin and Taylor.
I'm the Taylor Field of Fields, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's funny when I looked at the 1st-year anniversary, it was all 6 of us, Kyle's there, Liam there, and now it's just us 3. You know, everyone's been snapped, you know, it's just down us. But, no, lots of people are busy. Lots of people, you know, Jessica just had a kid, whatnot. So we recorded this right now with us 3. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. I think it's what I've been talking about a few times on cast, like because of COVID, it's felt like time has slowed down but sped up at the same time. So it felt like we just had our 5-year, but at the same time, it feels so long ago. So, yeah, it's crazy. Like I was saying this at dinner, like we have 4 years until it's a decade, which is not does not set in yet. But just a big, as always, a thank you to the listeners because we would definitely still not be doing this or be as successful without you guys. Big thank you to everybody that's kind of paved the way and whatnot, as far as Jessica and Briggs and Dylan and Liam and Kyle and Ruben and anyone that's guested, anyone GUA people's guested. It's been, I won't say a well-oiled machine, but it's been oiled. You know, we try to get as well-oiled as possible, but it's been great. You guys, past 5 months has been our biggest month each time, so you guys just continue to help us grow, and it's been a fun time. And we got lots of questions, as we always do with the 6 years of the anniversaries. We have questions prepared for each other, but then other people ask them, but you guys have anything to say before we get to this about the 6 years, you know?
It's just crazy that it's been 6 years. And
What are you laughing about? What are you laughing?
Yeah, we're just sharing the mic.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, good old days. I feel like we've had to do that a few times on these anniversary
Yeah.
casts.
Usually because there's lots of people. This time we just forgot the other mic.
Yeah, it's funny. I like the end game or Infinity War reference. Just it seems like half the group just got
Yeah.
snapped, and what's left? Whatever
Next
it takes, though, right?
Next year it'll just be me.
At least in August. But yeah, no, it's crazy that it's been 6 years. Like even sometimes I just think about certain things that we talked about like on cast in like Dylan's basement, and it just does not seem like it was that long ago. Sometimes I just think back when we're doing like prediction casts on something, and I just laugh on how wrong at least I was on like a lot of those.
We've predicted all probably. If you look at those first 2 to 3 years, everything we did predictions cast for is gone by. You know, it's past. Like
No.
we've gone past Endgame.
Yeah,
It's
no,
weird.
It's crazy, and like 6 years, like you said, like that is a good chunk amount of time, and I feel like just speaking for me personally, like I've just changed so much in that time, and mostly for the better. And overall, it's
We'll
been
see.
so much fun, and I don't see an end date on this whole podcast thing. Like we're just having so much fun, and just seems like we're just keep ramping up and up, and it's awesome.
6 years is just nuts. Does not feel like 6 years. You know, when you put that in perspective, I'm not sure how many days that is, but it's a lot.
365 times 6. Go.
I know what that is, but I can't get you the answer. Is what I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, we're only here because of all you fine folks out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it blows my mind. Like, I understand, like, all the rest of you guys, people tune in to hear what you guys have to say, but if people tune in to hear what I have to say, I don't get it. I mean, maybe it's because I'm just along with the other guys that say the important stuff, but hey, I'll take that. That's a win.
No, you got a big fan base out there. People like your they like your positivity and your outrageous takes and whatnot, because I think they know listening to you, unlike many other podcasters, they never know exactly what you're gonna say. So
I never even know what I'm gonna exactly say. To be
That's
honest,
true.
it's scary. It's unpredictable, and
like he hasn't even looked at tonight's questions, not once.
I don't even know what what I'm in store for. No. But I think it's such a milestone. I mean, 6 years. That's 3 twice. That's crazy. And here we
That's
are.
5 plus 1, and the 5th was big. Yeah.
So I'm just excited to see like what comes up like next and next, like
Oh,
7,
yeah.
8, and there's just probably 7 and 8 is like the mediocre. Like yeah, okay, let's get it over with. But 9 and 10,
get
that's
it
like the
over
real
with.
deal.
So there you go, folks. The next 2 years, they don't matter at all. We're getting it over with. So here's the answer. How many days have we been doing this for?
Oh, I wasn't looking. Hell no. I was on Twitter and just seeing how well my tweet's doing.
Oh,
Just getting
no.
hit with, just whatever the
Throw your boy a
endorphins.
like, you know.
2,190.
Oh,
2,190. Wow,
2,190.
yeah. I'm not even sure how
Quick
many
maths.
hours, like how many times we've done like the stream, days worth, everything like that. Like it's just crazy now. Like it is like talking about the MCU and stuff like that. Like we have this like history and like legacy now, and so, like I said, it just somehow keeps growing. And Emily loves to bug me, and I love to bug her. But the fact that there's anybody out there, even if it's just one person, that is like, oh, really excited for your review. And like I guess this is like maybe what I'll do this now, because I think we're reminiscing. I'll start off with Maddie's question, because he said like, what's your favorite memories of the podcast and everything. And that's what I gotta say about like this last week. We've gotten the past 2 weeks, 2 messages, one from Marcus, one from April, their new patrons. So thank you very much, because that is like we always said we're people that listen to podcasts or support other creators, so we know like that's your hard-earned money, and you give that to us to make new content and to do more stuff. So we do really appreciate that. But like in those 2 weeks, Marcus had messaged us and said like, oh, and he said this like great story and everything like that, but like his and his wife work in healthcare, and it's just like, oh, it really got him through this year, and one of the podcasts he listened to a lot, and that's great. And then also like people that message us and say, oh, I'm starting one because of you, or like April said this nice stuff about like we have this podcast that she doesn't feel like pushes people away, like we're accepting of everybody, and it doesn't feel like it's just kind of some sort of club and stuff, which I guess it just means a lot, because it's stuff that I had said to podcasters before I even podcast. Like there's those podcasts that I would like listen to instantly, or I have these people that I list as far as, oh, this is the reason I started, and just to get it's still weird to me. And like I said, I like to bug Emily, but it's still weird that anytime you get someone be like, oh, I'm starting a podcast because like I listen to you guys, like even like Greg, who's like on the network, same thing. Like he said that one of the inspirations, like other people that I won't spoil that are starting podcasts. But it's just a weird thing for myself, who before his podcasting sent these messages to other people, and now you get them. And that to me is more than like the stats or like the episode numbers, is when people come to you and say like, hey, like my like work sucked, and like working in healthcare in this time, like I know having a significant other, like it was not the greatest time these past 2 years, obviously, and if we helped out a little bit with that meant the world to me, getting messages like that these past little while. And that's like, it's not a moment we created, but a moment that people created for us. I was like, man, it's nice to have. And we've like just accumulated, like we are not the biggest fan base in the world, but the people we have are like pretty awesome so far. So hopefully that continues in 6 years. We just keep getting the good people. Maybe it's just because like if you make one little like thing, I like run you off if you're a jerk, maybe they just never return. But so it's that's great. But that's one thing I wanted to shout out, was as those type of comments and praise we get, which is a good thing. It's
Yeah, no, for sure. Because like you said, like I remember in the beginning days, just like getting like one single like review, or even just like seeing like, oh my god, like six people downloaded like our podcast. Like
to be fair, we were never at 6 people. I'm gonna say we have never dipped below 100. That was our first year.
100 people like downloading.
Well, the first episode ever was like 300 something, and then it started to go down, but we never dipped below 100. So I'll take that to
So
pride.
there you go. Like just in the early stages of, I felt like, especially at that time, like I didn't even know what podcasting was until we started, or you basically posed the question.
We just tricked you into it.
Yeah.
You want to just come talk for a few hours?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, like it'll be fun to just socialize, because it's stuff that we were already doing like at work anyways. So this is just like an out of work hangout, and like that's what I was looking. Like that's how I saw it, at least. And then like once you see people like reviewing it, and you get the negative ones or whatever, but like just seeing like a positive one, it's just like, wow, like that's crazy. And like I'm not trying to like get praise or anything for like what we're talking about. It's just like that interaction that we had, and then like that's just grown tenfold. Whether it's we actually have Patreons now, and like we're able to do like after nines and like interact with these people. I feel like
that's been tons of fun.
That's probably like one of the most like positive things I think about this, is just meeting awesome people that are just like-minded, and they're just so passionate about things that we're passionate about. And like it doesn't matter if they live like when you're young, like your friend group is like where you are, your neighborhood
yeah.
or whatever. And now it's like we're talking to people down in Texas, like we're
Oh,
talking to
yeah.
people in like
Like I talked to
Ireland,
South
like it's
Carolina.
crazy. Yeah.
Like I talk to Chris every day, and we're like countries away, or not countries, but like yeah, he's actually in Mother Russia. But no, like it's just crazy. Of like, oh, these are the people I talk to now. Or my friends in Cologne. I'm always like, yeah, we'll meet up at some point, and it's just like, yeah. After 9, other than the charity stream one we did recently, which that was a mistake on my part as far as the letting it go open to everybody. That luckily we didn't do that. Yeah, but we cut that quick. Other than that, every After 9 has been great. There's a reason we have continued to do it, because that was luckily, other than that last one, was a good idea, because you never know when you're allowing people to come on a podcast. You know, I always say my pitch was that I was hoping it'd be fans of ours that are not on the Patreon. Oh, here's my time to try, not like a random kid or whatnot and everything like that. But
For every 10 good ideas, we'll have at least one bad one.
that's my ratio is 100 to 1, so it's pretty good. So. Taylor Field's taking the mic now.
So, am I saying this in response to Maddie's question, or are we just still reminiscing?
Well, I have more memory. I have more memories to shout out too, so you can say whatever you want. That was just one of them I had, and then Kirkland started to talk. And
I mean, yeah, I'll piggyback with you guys. It's just to get to know all these people. It's incredible, and it's like to have them like not just be digits or keystrokes or something behind like keystrokes behind like a monitor, but
thanks
actually
out there to our keystrokes.
But actually see these people like face to face, like on the web, like in these like our Patreon like group chats and stuff that we do. It's so great.
The Discord has been fun. I'm hoping in the future, like we got a good people in there, but I'm excited for it to really pop off one day, because I think not even there's some people like, oh, I don't have Discord. I didn't have it for the longest time, but that's been fun to have, like not just the After 9, but the daily conversations with people about news and stuff like that. And you've bombarded them with Lego memes. Like at least now they know your personality, as far as like they know like Lego and Bionicles, when they lost that vote, like that meant a lot to you, which is
it was a heavy hitter. No, I think it's just amazing to be on this more of like a personal kind of level with all of these people from our Patreon, and just people that listen in general. They aren't even on the Patreon. They check out our social media. They leave positive comments for us. It's great, and the interaction, something I never thought we'd ever get to, from being in Dylan's little basements, parents' basement, whatnot, and not even the suite, just the basement,
corner of the basement.
Yeah, and now it's here, and it's funny because like I've many podcasts I've listened to, they all have that same kind of origin story. Like, we just had like a couple crappy mics, and we started out, didn't know what we were doing, and I feel like that's us. We had like one basic mic, and we all gathered around, and it's
Yeti.
The Yeti, yeah, fitting name.
Thank God we don't. Fitting name. Why is it fit? Because
I love Yetis. But yeah, it's so awesome to just like reflect on everything that we've gone through. And one of my favorite things is just being able to make people like happy and to laugh and smile. I think that's like the big kicker for me, is just to kind of have that escape.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as far as like specific memories go, like to Maddie's question, I was gonna make a point of actually going back and going through our bloopers episodes today while I was at work, like listen to them. But I completely went over my head. It was a busy day. So
you hear that keystroke?
I know.
Went over his head.
There's one memory though in particular that actually really makes me laugh. And I don't know, it was just like, it's in the bloopers. I can't remember which year, but there was like something in the air, because like it started off where I was talking about the Predator trailer, and you told him about it was like the synopsis, and then it led into like me like running out EV Games with Pokin and like to Madison.
I think it was year 3. I think that one.
Year 3, and then what was it that you called me? You're like something Gates or something like.
I'd have to listen to it. I think it is the year 3 one. Yeah, we just had laughing gas in the room that day. Like just a bunch of stuff you like saying where Madison worked and all this stuff, and
we were talking about like Venom, and you're like they get the kids in there too.
Yeah, that's what you said. They're doing all the guts and everything. And what really started off was, like I said, it's in the bloopers, but Taylor starts talking about Predator, and he's telling there's a trailer, and Kirkland's like, why didn't we watch it? And I'm like, oh, just wait for it. And then as Taylor slowly starts to explain the story, it's like, oh, there was no trailer, it's just synopsis. And
of the trailer.
Yeah, those are my favorites. Like, and that's I think been a good thing. That I think that's another reason why After 9 stuck around, because we have a lot of those where that happens. And I think now we're bad at it, because now like we had to adapt doing it digitally, and we'll still do in-person cast, but the digitally one is just good because we can get like those midnight Loki reviews, stuff like that, and that helps the podcast. But those podcasts where we just have like laughing gas going on, like those are the best. But yeah, that was a good one. Like I said, I think it's in the 3 years blooper. It's in my old place. It's in the living room, and we're in a Venom tank top. I just remember because I like fell multiple times. So yeah. I have a few to shout out here specifically. Anytime we did road trips, I think we brought that up every time, but that was fun. We did Spider-Verse or Civil War, Wonder Woman, always a good time. I'm always going to be mad. This is never recorded, so if you watch it live, good for you. But was the trivia that we won last year against SCS. The recording got lost because YouTube's stupid rules. Like if you go over 12 hours, I try to get it back, and they give some BS answer because there's other people that are higher YouTubers that can get them back. But like I said, you won't be able to see it, but just the fact that I feel like we were underdogs there, it was us versus a bunch of people, and just like we would have these, like specifically Taylor had some very stupid answers, but they were good. And sorry Katie, but I'll never forget the, like it's no moon, it's the Death Star. And then Taylor came with the right answer. We just popped off, and I just remember their faces of like, oh, you got to be kidding me, because it was just, and it was a good time. Like Brant and Chris and Ty who hosted that like had some good questions, and Scott, and it was It was a really fun time.
Yeah.
So that was a good moment for me.
I got Batman 66. I couldn't believe I got that answer.
Yeah,
oh,
you did.
that was crazy.
I found it very funny. I think it was Tyler Bucks. Shoutouts to Chatter Squadron podcast. I think he called Katie out. He's like, yeah, Obi-Wan was very precise. He knew that was called a Death Star.
For a personal one was just my very first GeekVerse title win against Dylan, because I will always say I play the least amount of games, and going in that match, everyone counted me out. And, I always love beating Dylan because Dylan's very cocky, because he should be. He's good at video games. But when I got that, I remember, and then I storyline-wise didn't shake his hand, and that was a fun time. So that was a personal one. 2 moments from last year that I think were like, I think one time we'll have to make a podcast like 10 best moments. One was the trial. I think that whole episode, the trial of Taylor Field, from start to finish, that was like, it went better than I expected.
Yeah.
The questions people ask, because you never know when we do these gimmick things like, okay, is this gonna work? And the good thing is everyone we had the trial completely understood, like, okay, it is serious, but it's more for fun, and they went with it, because you never know, especially some people, it's their first time on After 9 or GeekVerse, and it was like, that was one of my favorite episodes. And Taylor's moment of like, I have this board and I have all these points, and it all comes back to Travis, and he pulled it up, and that and I just remember, like I said, that's how I knew I lost, and luckily it was just a mistrial, but that was like, that to me was a top 10 GeekVerse episode, which is good because it's not even news, it's not even review, it's just us. Like, it was such stupid shenanigans, but it was a good time.
Yeah, that was a really good moment. I made sure to come to bat for that, because and I'll take the mistrial. The mistrial is good, better than being guilty. That was hilarious.
And then the other one from last year was when we did the wrestling match, and then you appeared on the After 9 like from your injuries and whatnot. And again, you can search these all up there in the bloopers. Most of these moments are, but these two were just newer moments. And again, both from After 9. That's why we love doing that show. But you popped up, you're all bandaged and hurt and everything like that. And I remember Kyle's reaction, because like I don't think Kyle had even seen the match, because Kyle like knows like 5% of what's happening at GeekVerse. So he was just like catching up. He's like, yeah, I just watched the match, crazy. And then Taylor popped up all bandaged, black-eyed, everything like that. So those are 2 moments from this year that I like, or last year, that were like in top 10 GeekVerse moments. They're just really good. What else do we have here? Taylor wasn't a part of this one, but it was actually the Batman trailer reaction from Fandom a few years ago, because that video did really well, but it was just like, I haven't actually had a trailer reaction where I've always been excited, but this was like a holy shit. And I remember because it did really well. Kirk was there. Kirk always jokes that he's just like staring the whole time. But like, I just like a bunch of me and GWA people going crazy. So that was a fun one. The end game stats, because that was what really put us on the map, and that got us like ads and new gear and stuff like that. And that grew our listenership. And I just remember every day checking in, just like going up like in a couple hours, 1,000. It was crazy, and like a big thing to everyone that stuck around. And then finally, this one always sticks out, is like the second Extra Life where we hit $1,000. Now this year we hit $200 or $2,020. So like, or no, what is it? $2,200. That's what I'm trying to say. So we've gone higher than that, but I guess I just thought anytime we were doing like Extra Life, I thought, we might get 1,000 one day, but it's going to take a lot more than just our second year to hit it. So and it was like, obviously we helped a little bit too. Like there was like $50 left, and everyone was donating at the end. It like came down to like the last minute and stuff. But that was the first time, because the 500 the first year was really good, but it was definitely like, okay, majority of this is family and friends that they're being nice. But once you get into the 1,000, the 1,500, that's when you know, okay, we got to have other people that listen to the podcast, that are listeners, that are random people donate, because if we want to get this money to the kids, we've got to raise all this money, and it can't just be our family and friends, and they can't do that every year. But the 1,000 was like, man, we raise, even if it's just $1,000, like we're just from Kelowna, we just started the podcast second year, so it was nuts, and that was like a great moment. And all those like those streams we do, whether they're 24 hours, 12 hours, like they're always a good time. We just have great moments. So that's a few moments, even though I list like 10 of my like reign here.
Yeah, like just touch upon the last Extra Life thing. I remember even just the first year, like we had a goal of $500. But it's funny looking back on it now. 'Cause like you just said, our last one was over $2,200.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And I remember being like, nah, we probably won't hit 500, but it's still cool to just raise money. And then like I remember just like the day after that stream, be like, I can't believe we actually raised that amount of money. And then you double the goal, and it's just like, okay, shoot for the moon, see where we land. And then when we actually hit the 1,000 again, like I was just again in disbelief. It's just like it just goes to show how like many awesome people are out there and like interacting with us.
100%, yeah.
Because like you just said, like first year, hey mom, can you like donate to the stream or something like that? But like most of those donations were just people watching it and they just loved watching us just do shenanigans on the screen. So that, like all the Extra Life stuff, definitely great moments to shout out. I was definitely gonna shout out the wrestling match. I thought the whole recording of it was just so fun to just be like, behind the lens. Like I was the ref, but still just like seeing it made, and like when you actually like see it on screen, it was just such a fun day. And following up with like Taylor showing up all bruised.
The matches are like, and this is weird because the only hardcore people is this, so I can always say in wrestling terms like breaking kayfabe and breaking the fourth wall, like those are always fun. And that one we had filmed, and it was like I didn't know when we were gonna release, so we were sitting on it for a bit, and that's why it came out like in July and it was snowy. But we just joked that it was like Canadian and it snowed. But that one was a good one, and we will do more of them, and we have lots of like hijinks planned. But that one, the first one. I think they've both been good. The first one was good, but this one, like it's also because we have more listeners, but a lot of people interacted, and like it felt like it was a big because people are getting excited about on Twitter talking about who they were gonna win. That kind of changed my character in Gauntlet too, because almost no one picked me, so I took that as like fuck you everybody. Like I should clearly be winning this and stuff. But like it was like it had like this is why I'm always worried for the third one, but it had like such a bigger cinematic feel to it because we had like cars involved and I'm throwing Taylor's off roof and everything.
Switching locations.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then they had like you and Dylan doing hijinks and everything. So yeah, stay tuned. I don't know when those will happen again, but we'll definitely do at least one more. And but yeah, those are always fun to film. Those are good times. Stuff that is crazy, like when I'm standing on the snowbank in the middle of the parking lot and there's neighbors looking. It's like, well, that's where the podcast has got me. So here we go.
Yeah, 100%. And then you were just mentioning some like Gauntlet things. I feel like I could honestly shout out like just especially like in like the Custer Dome era where it seemed like we had Gauntlet matches like just all the time. And that's where we would just get elaborate with like the walk-ins and like we all chose our own songs, and like that was so much fun. I could shout out like specific matches, whether it's like me and Taylor in Call of Duty, me getting slapped by Taylor in Call of Duty this last one, and just like those title matches. Like again, at the end of the day, it's just for fun, but like it's still so much fun to get competitive.
They're fun, but we work each other up because there's some big
100%.
Right? And those were the best times because that's definitely the time where we all had the most free time.
Yeah,
because that's where everybody like Briggs didn't have a girlfriend. Phil didn't have a girlfriend for a little bit of that. You were just meeting Shay. I was with Emily. Dylan didn't have a girlfriend. I don't think Clinton did at that point. But then once everyone started dating and getting a life, that's where it's like, oh yeah. And those things too, like that's the thing where like next year, once now COVID's like getting better, we're gonna do, like I said, our plan like 4 to 5 years events, and we're gonna do them. But those are just like they're fun, but they're so time consuming. But it was so fun, like every month get together and record a bunch of matches, and it was just.
Interviews, like everything, like the whole production of it was just so much fun.
I hope one day if we ever do this full time that I would love that to be like a real series and put like real, like to have like full on time to
get like a custom actual like WWE belt, but it's like for
it's been talked about.
It's customized.
It's gonna happen.
I'm sure
at
it's
some
not
point.
cheap, but
it's not. But one day.
And then just like I'm sure there's tons of bloopers that just capture so many great moments. And then like one that I feel like I always have to show like every year was like, I guess it wasn't even recording at the time, but like just that whole like Endgame era of like the podcast and like seeing the movie, whether we were doing predictions before the movie, but just like the whole build up of it, like it just felt like something magical. And then like when
Yeah.
it finally led into like the movie experience, like that was probably the #1 movie experience I've ever had in my entire life. Like the
4-hour review. we
yeah,
did.
yeah, exactly. Like the review afterwards. That's why I just kind of like encase it in one solid like memory thing.
Yeah,
Even though there was
100%.
a lot going on, but that was
It was an
crazy.
error,
and
yeah. And then it just did so well for us too.
Totally.
So it's like it paid off. But yeah, that was a fun error because it was all just about we gotta get to end game. We gotta get to end game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's gonna be many, many more memories.
Anything else to add, Taylor? Memories or next question?
I mean, you guys covered so many memories. Yeah, those interviews. Like, I love doing those like work hard, wolf hard like vlogs. I'd love to do
Yes.
more of those.
One day, yeah. That's subscribe
Um,
on YouTube, and then hopefully one day more video content like that. But
I mean, other than that, like just I'd love. I'd love to do more like video stuff like that. It was just like
It's a
so much
goal.
fun. Like What's a Jar Jar was like a humorous kind of like one-off spin-off kind of thing. Yeah, those things are just they're so enjoyable.
yeah.
There was one, I can't remember what it was for, but I think I like stirred the pot in. It was all scripted. I stirred the pot, and then you chased me outside. I think it was during your interview.
Yes.
And then I can't remember what I said, but I'm like, fuck you. And then right when I said you shoved my head in the snow.
Yeah, it was after our first match. I was supposed to say Xbox was better than PlayStation. You cheated, so I didn't say that. And then, yeah, we ran outside. We had a snow fight. And then you're just like, you just throw out your random stuff. And you're like, fucking A. And you're just like throwing snow. And then you're like, motherfucker. And then I threw you in the snow. And it's funny because like most of the clips of it now, there's music over it. But Dylan was laughing the entire time. But we didn't do another take because we were covered in snow. And yeah, that was the Pan Soul era too, who we haven't seen in a bit. But, you know, I'll have to check up on it. Well, we don't know who he is. You know, he's been many people. So. All right. So yeah, thank you very much, Maddie, for those questions, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you on After 9 soon. It's always a good time to have another Canadian listening too, you know, because there's so few and far in between. But Summer Hansey, one of our oldest fans, as far as just listening for a very long time. So a big thank you to your big support. Check her out on Twitter. Check out her band. Check out her on Spotify. I have one of her songs on playlist, even though you chose to end the match over me. I gotta give you something. Hansey asks, if you could take two MCU actors and switch the roles they played, which would you choose? For example, she used like Hemsworth to play Captain America and Evans to play Thor. This, other than Taylor's question, was the hardest one.
100%.
Because I feel like for the majority of the MCU, they have done a great job of casting. So I feel like there's nothing I want to change. And even then, if I want to change, there's like, well, then if there's like Malekith, it's like, well, then I have to make whoever I switch with them a bad role, right? So that was the thing. The way she proposed it was not just switching any actors.
It was a good question for sure.
So I switched Jake Gyllenhaal with Tom Hiddleston. Now, I love Tom Hiddleston, but I just tried to find an equivalent of, I think Jake Gyllenhaal could have been a great Loki. Might have been a bit old, but still, if you look at him, Nightcrawler, shave him down, make him look young enough. Great actor would have been throughout. And Tom Hiddleston, I think we've seen he can be charming. So the way like Mysterio and Quentin Beck is charming in that movie to trick Peter, he could have done that. Again, I would not actually do this, but if the gun's to my head, because I thought about the main Avengers, I couldn't find anyone that worked. So that was my one. I went with Loki and Mysterio, and I think that could have been a fun swap because I loved Jake Gyllenhaal and Mysterio, but I definitely wanted some more in-depth stuff, and I wish he was not probably gone already. So, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade Tom. So, but I just thought, okay, that could be comparable. So that was my pick.
Yeah, this was definitely like a head scratcher on it. I had so many like pairs that I picked. I'm like, I guess I'll go with that. And then I'm like just unsatisfied with it just all day throughout. Like I'm just working away, but it's like, fuck, no, that's not gonna work. And then I have two other ones in my head. So I felt like for my answer, I kind of was getting like thinking outside the box for this one. I'm pretty happy with it. I also chose Loki, so Tom Hiddleston. But for him, I would be swapping him. Now here we go. This is where we're really getting outside the box. Him and Kate Blanchett. So I would be gender swapping there. I would have female Loki, Kate Blanchett, and then Tom Hiddleston as Hela. I don't know what like a male version of Hela would look like, but I just felt like I just feel like those two would be really, really intriguing because we just watched and reviewed Loki, but I just really like that idea of like a female Loki with like the Tom Hiddleston look of like more dark hair and everything, and just that version. I really like Sylvie, but at the same sense,
always
at the same time, I just thought that would be a good pairing because like Travis said, like I was just dissecting like the main cast, whether it was like Robert Downey or something. I'm like, they did such a good job in the casting in general, but I think that one is just a fun idea there because then you just have the gender swap roles and then you can get really creative with what you want to do.
So right now we've both given Tom Hiddleston just one role in the MCU. Taylor, are you making a trifecta there, or do you got some other person?
Mine.
I know. I'm hoping. I got my fingers crossed.
Mine is Asgard related. But legit, I thought about this like for a while. I thought, you know what I really, really would like is I'd swap out Odin, Anthony Hopkins.
Oh no.
I'd swap him out for Sam Neill's Odin.
Okay. So you would put Sam Neill as the prime
100%.
Odin, and then Anthony Hopkins as like the play Odin, who's in there for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Wow.
100%.
Poor two-time Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins is now reduced down to 15 minutes.
I love Sam Neill so much. I would love to have seen his take of Odin because we got a brief little bit in the movie. I think Odin for Odin.
See, that's why when you said, why do people listen to this podcast for you too? That's exactly it there. Yeah. I felt bad giving Tom Hiddleston one role potentially in the MCU. You giving Anthony Hopkins just a good old 15 minutes, but you know, well, there you go. And all these questions too, if there are any ones that you feel you can answer, let us know on Twitter, Facebook, or the Discord. But yeah, all right. And I'm going mostly in the order that they're sent. So Tim Rooney, host of a great podcast, go show a filmmaker as well. Go follow him on Twitter. He's been on After 9. If all the hosts were put into a battle royale situation, who's the last one standing? Be honest. I'm gonna let you guys first, and I'd say to make it fun, let's include everybody. Let's include everybody from GeekVerse history.
Everybody,
so
okay.
Kyle, Briggs, Dylan. Is that taking too much? Because I like.
I'll have two answers. I'll do S3
Yeah.
I'll do a sixology.
Yeah.
Or sevenology.
I like okay.
I had to bring in some outside help for this one because I'm like, I feel like I'm just dead first, honestly, because I feel like I'm the least competitive out of everyone here. So I'd be like, yeah, okay, guys, I'll die first. That's all right with me. But then, no, it was someone at work. Yeah, that was familiar with the podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, you die first. No.
Yeah.
And then they brought up a good point where, like, because for me personally, I feel like Travis would just, like, manhandle me and just, like, choke me out and I would just die right away. And then I'm like, okay, so in my opinion, Travis is probably the biggest target. I think at that point, me and Taylor would probably like work together to just get rid of Travis.
No.
I think
You
that would be
think-
the case.
you
And then probably that's why I die first because Taylor just stabs me. But
That's true. Yeah, you can't
yeah,
trust him.
but if I'm being honest, I think I'm probably the first to go in that situation just because I'm the least competitive and I'm just I'll die first. So.
You brought up a good point. I think that because I did pick myself, but like if I was teamed against, yes. But I feel like with Jessica's hips problem, I just one boot to her hip and it's done for her. Like she's just like
He's already planned this out.
I thought about this when he asked. Be honest, you guys are pretty skinny, so I couldn't throw you pretty far. Same with Dylan. So you guys pretty good. The only one, Kyle, he's not a fighter. Like the only one same with Liam, he's too much of a hippie. The only one I always worry about is Briggs because he's always quiet and
Just grab his ponytail.
but he has
Oh,
no
he doesn't have a
ponytail. Yeah, he doesn't have
ponytail,
the ponytail. Yeah, ponytail. It's over for him. But if not, just pick him up, swing him like Loki and the Hulk. But he's the only one to worry about. And he's like a bit more of a stockier guy. But no, I feel like like I've taken judo before. I've done some boxing. I'm in the gym. But that's the thing. If I get teamed up against, then I take myself out of the equation. Then I still go with Briggs because, like I said, Briggs has that quietness about him that he might be scheming. I just don't think. I don't think Dylan's violent. I don't think Dylan or Kyle are violent enough. Like I said, Liam is he's out there. Maybe Jessica wins. Maybe she just plagues injury or fakes it and then she sits back and finds a way, like Cersei style. But and then I think you two would team up together, but eventually turn on each other or something. But and plus I have more to lose. I got 2 kids now, so like I'm gonna be fighting tooth and nail. So I guess Jessica does too. But again, I don't have a bad hip, so that's the problem there. And if I
super mother strength though, like
That's true, but if I could throw you guys around, I'm F5 and her to the moon, like throw her all over.
So, I mean, for me, I see it as dependent on the environment.
True.
So I was thinking, okay, Kirkland, I honestly think that you could outwit all of us. Outwit all of us.
In what environment, though?
Again, like it depends on the environment, but I think majority of them he would outwit us. Like if it's a city, if it's out in the woods, that kind of stuff, like I think you could. Like a cityscape. If it's about surviving, like out surviving the rest, I feel confident that I can have that. Again, if I'm like hiding off to the sidelines and like letting people duke it out. Now, if it's the final circle and it's closing in, then Travis is gonna like grab us by the neck and throw us around for sure.
That's true. If I get to the final circle, I'm good to go. If it is like the hunting for people, you guys might be quieter. But the thing is, you said, you got last us. No, if you get hungry, it's over for you. You're gonna be like, oh my god, I don't know if I can make it. And when Taylor's hungry, he shuts down. So if food,
that's the thing. Depending on the environment, if we're apocalyptic and we gotta verse each other, I mean, I've got my bases covered. So I mean, survival's key. I'm always messaging you doomsday stuff like, hey, make sure you got food and emergency supplies prepped. Like,
Yeah, but you'd be too worried about other things I could sneak up on you.
yeah,
You know?
it's interesting when you said about like Dylan and Kyle not being like I don't want to say like fighters, but like I think Dylan might spend too much
sometimes has
time
an edge.
thinking about it and he'll be dead.
Or that could be Briggs because he does that in like what is it, Avalon and stuff like that. So he might die
Yeah.
thinking about a plan and then it's over.
Yeah, it'll be over for him. With
Yeah.
Jessica, I mean, I wasn't gonna go as far as say, yeah, you're hip, you're toast. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you went
dude.
there.
You gotta go
Um,
for the weaknesses. I'm sorry, Jessica,
um,
but if that hip's there first thing, I'm spartering it. You know, then she's down. You know.
I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say she'll last for a little bit, but I mean,
The good thing about her is she's the smallest, so she could definitely hide a lot easier. Though she could be the Arpita, where she's just like behind a rock, and because she's so small, we wouldn't see her. You know.
I guess so. Like Frodo with the cape to be a rock.
Pretty
or
much,
something.
yeah. That's some Pokemon hood or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We all can't really decide, but you know, it's that par for the course. We'll just have to fight out. That's why I want to when they do a dodgeball and stuff. Not the same, but I want to do some of these, you know, things. But unfortunately, rest in peace, GV Olympics. One day it'll happen. John Hazelton, long-time listener, said, I want to start with this one, the lower tier one, as far as. You know, I don't know how the answers are going to be. Then we'll get to, John, your great question. But not your question was lower tier, just because I was like, I don't know how these guys are going to answer this. But if you had to cast a whole movie or show with just former pro wrestlers, which IP would you use and who would you cast? So I cheated as far as who you cast because I just took a bunch of them. But what I would do is if they were to do a live-action reboot of Small Soldiers, I would have all the wrestlers
Ooh.
play the soldiers and those other like monsters that they fight and everything because they're already jacked up dudes.
Yeah.
They don't got to be that good of actors because it's just a lot of like, oh, here we go. So that's what I do. Like John Cena has the flat top, so he could play like the commander guy and
Totally.
everything. You got Rock in there, Roman Reigns, got Undertaker for crew guy. Like so that's what I'd pick. Just like pick that one. You got to pick the biggest like men and women, get them in there, and they're the small soldiers and they're the toys and everything like
That's a
that.
great
So
idea.
that's what I'd go with. Is that gonna happen? No, they're not rebooting Small Soldiers ever. But
Yeah, I mean, like right away, my mind just went to something like Civil War because again, that's the most like wrestling type situation, right? Like
Yeah.
you have two teams going to battle it out, and then for like the two like main dudes, like I kind of dabbled a bit in wrestling, like with Travis, you kind of
Yep.
got me on it, but like back in the day, like I definitely had like WWF, I think it was called at the time,
yeah.
on like PS1, and my guy was Kane. I just I
Oh,
loved
yeah.
his look. I thought he was so badass with like the red mask and everything. So I had like Kane as like my Captain America, and then a opposite of him. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Undertaker's his brother, right?
Yeah, it's his
yeah. So
brother.
I had Undertaker.
what's the quotations marks? That's his brother.
in real life?
No, but
Yeah, exactly. That's what the quotation.
in the storyline.
Yeah. So I had those two just because it's like a brotherly thing. You can
Yeah.
tie it in with some sort of plot, and then again, you can just fill in any wrestlers you want.
Yeah.
For the teams, I had of course The Rock. I was just like thinking of like the roster of like the PS1 game. I think.
Stone Cold,
What was it was like, oh my gosh.
Mankind, Triple
Yes,
H.
Mankind.
Yes,
Thank
that's who
you.
it
That was the one.
yeah.
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 So yeah, that was my pitch. But I didn't dive too deep into it because I'm
Yeah.
like I know I have surface level knowledge of wrestling, but I love your small soldiers pick though.
Thank you, sir.
So, I have like I had an idea for a movie with this, and like I have a basic like plot line for this. So, this is a Bigfoot movie, right? off the hop.
Oh god.
Oh yeah. So it's gonna be called Wood Knocks. Now, so
Also the name of the porn parody too. Are any of the wrestlers playing Bigfoot?
we'll get to that. So now again, I don't know much about wrestling history, stories, or whatever. I just know some of these like main head honchos. So we have basically The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, pitted against John Cena in the woods, an exhibition match.
Okay.
Now basically there's no people around or anything like that. It's just them versus each other, and it's got the cameras on
Hunger
them.
Game style.
And the guy hosting it is Vince McMahon.
Okay.
So it's
So he's literally said these two wrestlers are gonna fight to the death live on TV. Okay.
it's getting like crazy nitty gritty, like they're fighting, and they like in this era they have like it's not just like scripted, like they're like super pissed at each other. They're like really mad. They have like a feud going on. This exhibition match is just to settle the beef, and now all of a sudden
Beef?
Vince gets killed
Oh
by a
no,
Bigfoot.
Vince.
Played by Dave Bautista. So
and is this supposed to be in our world?
yeah.
So how come The Rock and John Cena are like the regular people, but then now Dave Bautista's Bigfoot?
Well, again, like Dave Bautista, he exists out there, but he's just playing the Bigfoot.
But does it look like Dave?
No.
Oh,
You
so
won't
you
know. We're just
okay.
using his body mostly.
Okay.
But basically, Cena and The Rock have to work together to survive. That's it.
Wood knocks. So, yeah, we'll make sure when we start making our movies, I'll pitch that to Rock. But you got to be in Wood knocks, you know. So. All right. And then John Hazelton's other one was pitch a what if you would like to see if they had a series kind of similar to Marvel. So I got 3. I picked one for each. I had a bunch, honestly, because me and Taylor have talked about doing this as a topic for a while, so I might dive into this one time again, but I picked 3, so one for each era of the film trilogy. So, number 1, the most obvious one as far as I'm going in order, prequels. I would love to see what happened if Qui-Gon Jinn survived, because that dynamic I think would have shifted completely. Maybe there wouldn't be a Vader. Even if you kill Obi-Wan, I think that works, but I'm a huge fan of Liam Neeson in that role, and it would have been fun to see like he would have to face off against Count Dooku coming up, and then if he finds out who Palpatine was, like I think there's a part where you could easily somehow put him in like the Mace role where like Anakin chops his hand off and so like I think there's a way to rework that script, but it makes sense why he died in the movie because like he's the guy that Anakin trusted the most. So it's like it makes sense why they did. But like a what if, I'd love to see like what would have went down. Would it also went the same? So that's my one for the prequels. For the OG trilogy, I picked what if Luke died on Cloud City because they already set up that there's another with the Force. They bring in Leia. So my pitch is he dies, and that's kind of Leia realizing that she does have the Force, and she's the one that faces off of Vader in the 6th one because I think that would have changed everything. Obviously, what if Luke would have been dead? But it would have been very interesting too. Like, would they still have their kid because like if she a Jedi, would she be celibate? I don't know, and I think that could have been fun. And then my sequel one, everyone's gonna laugh because they know my feelings about Kylo Ren, but I legitimately, if we were gonna turn him good, which I didn't want, if we were gonna turn him good, I would have turned him in episode 8 and then episode 9. I guess you could have still killed Snoke, but episode 9 from the beginning have Rey and Kylo together fighting the bad guy forces. And as I've talked about before, I think all that interesting stuff of then even if Kylo died at the end of 9, I would have been better with it because you could have had, I just think about, imagine episode 8 ends and that is that part where they're on the Falcon and it makes no sense because all their friends are dead, but they're all smiling and laughing together. It's like, what the fuck, man? But like, imagine if they have the Falcon, Poe's there, Finn's there, all the people, Leia, and Rey walks on the Falcon, then behind her Ben Solo walks in, and then the movie ended right there. What a dynamic that would have been to been like, what do we do with this guy? And plus, like, Ben Solo would have been back on the Falcon, and I just think, like, the dynamic of them having to work with Ben Solo would have been interesting because you had that can we trust him? Kind of like Loki, but much darker. And then I still think, like I said, it's because Star Wars, they don't want to deal with anything heavy, but I think some good character development would have been like, okay, Rey did fall for this guy, but what does that mean? You fell for a person that's killed a bunch of innocent people. He used to be a kind of a terrorist. So I think that would have gave a lot more weight. And then if he died at episode 9, I would have been more fine with that. But I always hated that we got, 10 minutes of Ben Solo and he's gone and we'll never get him back unless I get the trilogy and I will rewrite that and retcon it. But those are my pitches is Qui-Gon lives, Luke dies, and Ben turns in episode 8. Because just to see because JJ couldn't have walked that back either. You could walk back the reveal of who she was, but if he turned good, I don't think he could just start off at 9 like, and he's bad again, So, but unfortunately, we got Rise Skywalker. So those are my 3.
Right on. Yeah, I also did 3. So I don't think mine are as. I was gonna say I don't think mine are as interesting as Travis's, but I'm gonna take that back.
Qui-Gon takes Watto instead of Anakin.
I quite enjoy. I want that now.
He's a little old, Qui-Gon.
So my first one was basically similar to your first one, where I wanted to see what would happen if Obi-Wan, for some reason, kind of like betrayed Qui-Gon, and then he went with like Darth Maul. So then he's kind of like the new like Sith apprentice there, and I also feel just like his look in the early movie, like you get like just an awesome shot of him just like cutting off his little like rat tail thing, like that's just like he's done with the Jedi Order, and then
throws in Qui-Gon's face.
I also feel like just his overall look in that, it kind of reminds me of like Starkiller, that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like just seeing a character like that like in the movies themselves, and just seeing that character that at this point in time, like we just always see him as just like that super good Jedi that was just there to like always like be the force of light, just to completely swap it. So I just think that'd be really fun, and then it would be really, really cool to just have more Darth Maul like with him.
Yeah.
Now you guys might pitch me like what Clone Wars he comes back or whatever, something like that. I haven't seen that, so all I've seen.
It's not the same. They should have killed him.
All I've seen of Darth Maul is pretty much from that first movie, and then I guess the little bit in Solo.
Oh
but,
yeah. Imagine if they turned him dark in episode 1, but they didn't change episode 4. So you're like, what the fuck happened to Obi-Wan? Like the
Yeah, Obi-Wan. I haven't heard that name in a long time. All right, and then I'm just realizing pretty much all mine are like in the prequels. But
yeah.
my next one is, what if Order 66 actually failed? And
That's interesting.
like it doesn't really
like the Jedi's just defeat every clone trooper that
Yeah.
turns on them.
Yeah.
And Palpatine's like, fuck.
or like yeah, like something like that. Whereas like the Republic kind of sticks together, but they kind of lose their main army. And then I like for in my head canon, I pictured it. Okay, well we got rid of like the Sith threat, but I mean, if you talk about like the Force, if the light side is completely
Nope,
strong,
that's not how it
it
works.
means that the dark
Nope.
side's gonna come
That's
back
a
eventually.
myth. That's a
I'm
myth.
throwing my head
There's-
canon here. It's my what if, but so like something like that happen, or even something more. People complain about like the political stuff in the prequels, but I think it would just be really interesting getting like a more like serious take on like the political system that happens and like the actual like power vacuum that would occur in that situation of, okay, the emperor's dead. Now who's gonna be like, instead of having a new emperor just come in and be
They
that
would've
new
won.
speed,
They
there would just
would've
be bunch of different parties just constantly like, again, it would just be like a drama at that stage. But I think it would just be interesting.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So if Order 66 fails, in your headcanon, though, is Anakin staying good or does he still turn bad? Because I think that's a big deciding factor, too.
Yeah, I feel like just to make it easy, I would just have him die like during the Order
Oh,
66.
he's the
event.
only one that gets popped.
Yeah.
No, not
Mace
that one.
Windu just kills him. or
Yeah,
something. So yeah, I think that's just something interesting there.
That would be. I've said this, like, obviously we're gonna get more answers here, but I just want them to do that. They did that back in the day. I think they even stole the Luke dies, but I think they had a comic series with Star Wars. So I hope the Marvel one's successful, and then they do that with Star Wars. Same
Yeah.
thing. They do the same style, animation. They change it, whatever they do. Just do, okay, these 10 episodes are out of canon. Let's have some fun. Because yeah, it'd be fun. Because I think if you're doing a what if, to me, that one would be, because I disagree with Taylor and Kirkland, that to me there's not this whole balance of the Force. It's just a fucking myth. To me, that's the episode where it's like, they just win. Like Anakin and Padme go to be happy. Obi-Wan's like a Jedi master on the council. Like it's just like the happiest ending of Star Wars. Like what could have happened? Like the twins are fine and alive, everything like that, you know, and see them train up. And then, because yeah, if Palpatine gets defeated, there's no Vader. And then there's probably no Ben Solo. So it's like, it's this whole thing of like, Palpatine's kind of the like poison of it all. So if you take him out early on in the franchise, what would happen? I think just good stuff.
100%.
Just to comment on that, I mean, you can say like good stuff, but as we know, like High Republic, Jedi might be trying to do something, and then all of a sudden he taps into the dark side, and he may not bounce back from it, and then you don't need Palpatine to poison
I agree,
it.
but I think there's a difference between a Jedi kind of slipping to the dark side to Palpatine, who has like this whole government takeover. You know, like even if you look at High Republic, there's dark side users, but the High Republic's still the top dog, and things are still pretty okay, barring the odd terrorist attack and everything, and obviously Marshawn Rose popping off. But with like the Dark Ages, we just get into like slavery and like, you know, that. So that's where I think like, yeah, I wouldn't say like it's roses all the way through, but I mean like we would have probably lost, like, unless Kirkland says Anakin's just dead. But in my what if, it's like they all live, you know, like yeah, if someone's gonna die, maybe Padme gets assassinated, but it's like relatively like regular bad stuff happening, not hey, we burnt you to a crisp, you're a suit, and now we got like the Empire and the Dark Ages and all that stuff.
All right, and then man, mine are so similar. I just realized. So my third one was not that Order 66 didn't fail, so it's like it's a success there, but Anakin actually stays good. I'm not saying he defeats like Palpatine in that instance, like he joins Mace Windu and then they just like slice him down right there. Maybe Palpatine actually still kills Mace Windu, but then he just like kind of hurts Anakin, they get away there, and then Anakin just remains on the side of light. It would just be so interesting there, like actually seeing him as like a fully like Jedi Master. He finally gets that title.
Because there's none left.
And yeah, just like even him like finding like his like Yoda or like at some later point, and then like again like meeting up with his kids or something. I don't know if they would survive in this specific like situation.
They would have, because the only reason she died is because her heart broke. Remember, so they would have made it.
Fuck, I hate that reason. But I don't know.
She's lost the will to live. What about these two kids she's having?
Yeah, because like I don't know, people like throw out there like, oh, what if like, because at the end of episode 6, Darth Vader kind of goes good right before he dies, but like even just before he gets to it burnt to a crisp, like he just is still you know, he's got his little scar on his eye, but like that's just his look. He's
His
still got
little
his nice
scar. Oh, that one. Okay, I thought you were talking about after. Like,
Oh
in,
no,
I thought you were talking about episode 6. Yeah, he's got a little scar. You mean his entire face? That scar? But yeah, I don't know what would happen. So like, Order 66 successful, but he keeps Anakin. That would have been, or Anakin saves light side. That would have been. I think that would have been a much even war. I think there would have been a war still for like generations, but Anakin at least would have helped out because in that situation, what it's like Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin. Maybe Yoda doesn't run away like a little bitch, but that's for another day. There's my what if. Don't run away like a little bitch. The galaxy's in peril. What am I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna hang on Dagobah for 30 years. Okay, thanks for the help, but maybe
what are
he
you gonna
didn't.
do with a baby Luke that can't even walk? You can't do anything
No,
with him.
Yoda go out and do stuff.
What's he gonna do?
Just go fucking assassinate Palpatine. Do something, not just sit on a rock and do
It
nothing.
paints a target. He can't help the
No.
rebellion because that paints a target.
No.
For what
And this is what
rebellion
you bet. But hey, they're probably gonna do some Yoda Disney Plus series. They're gonna do some Yoda Disney Plus series and show he did leave the planet, just like they do with Obi-Wan. Remember, because apparently he did leave Tatooine. So. What?
So funny enough, mine are definitely Star Wars related, of course. No,
What?
obviously the question is if Star Wars had a what if. I was like, well, we've all been Star Wars related. This is crazy. What are the odds, guys? Mine's Star Wars too.
It's like I sure fucking hope so. That was the question. So of course, mine are all Star Wars. Thank God they were. Because what if they weren't? What if they're like Marvel, DC, and we're just sitting here
I
like,
could have got so wrong.
of course, mine are Star Wars. He said that so like, yeah, I'm on the ball with this. Yeah.
So yeah.
There's a blooper right there.
Oh my god.
So of course, mine are all Star Wars. By the way, I'm happy you came to Olive Garden. I have pasta here.
One of my biggest, I'd say, what ifs would probably be again Thrawn related. Now, his trilogy novel series, I would have loved to have seen a what if series right after the events of, or not right after, but give or take a little bit. Like Leia's pregnant this time, and basically the Empire is still kind of lurking in the shadows.
Well, I feel like you might that what if still has a potential happening right now with the way we're going.
Leia
with
being
this.
pregnant, or like them adapting this to a new
Well,
trilogy.
Thrawn's supposedly coming, Ahsoka, and like I feel like they're gonna adapt some of that like hair of the Empire, whatever it is.
If they do, I mean, they could.
I
And
think
if they
they
do
are.
and somehow put in like pregnant Leia and her story and the Nogri, all that stuff, I'd like lose my mind. That would be
Yeah.
insane. But until then,
Yeah.
I'll use it as a what if example. I just think like the idea of Thrawn finding a clone Jedi, Master Kaboth, and then using him to try and like get like a new clone army set up, and then have like evil Luke that's cloned from like the hand he lost on Cloud City. Like it's just there's so many different cool things, and then like Kaboth like who wants to like abduct Leia and then abduct her twins, and you train them as like dark disciple kind of things. Like there's so much cool stuff, and even politically, like the Empire lied to this entire race of the Nogri, basically saying like, yeah, all these crashed ships that destroyed your planet's atmosphere and everything, they're all from the rebellion, when really it was the Clone Wars, which predated everything. There's just so many cool different things. It's just such a cool storyline that I'd love to see brought to light. My other thing would be, and this is actually from the storyline from Empire at War, the Force of Corruption part. So at the end, there is a Dathomirian witch called Silri, and basically she finds a Sith holocron and she gets access to the Sith temple. And this is after episode 6. And she goes in, and there's a whole bunch of Sith troopers frozen in carbonite, and one Sith Lord at the end of the lightsaber frozen in carbonite. And they've been there for like years and years and years. And I would love to have seen like a continuation of that, like the Republic, like the New Republic, all of a sudden dealing with this new Sith Lord frozen in carbonite for 1,000 years. It'd be so nice. And other than that, I mean, just like a what if series, probably of just what you guys talked about, how the events of the prequel just changing where Anakin doesn't turn to the dark side. It could be as simple as Qui-Gon not dying. It could be as simple as yeah, like
Sit down, Master Skywalker.
there's so many different scenarios that you could tackle in that case. But I would have liked to have seen more of that live action dynamic between like the Jedi and clones in this scenario. And I was reading with, do you remember Barriss Offee? You might know who she is.
She's green, right?
She is like blue skin. She was the
Okay.
apprentice of the green skin one. Do you remember she
then.
turned on Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Apparently, and this is a cool what if I'd love to see. Apparently they had like a setup like a CGI like very very unpolished footage of it, but she was leading like clones, and the clones like shot her down, and then they were in an ATT behind her, and then the scene shows them like actually like stamp down the foot on top of her to kill her for good, like really brutal stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Oh, there you go.
Well, I got
John.
another one. A
Okay.
what if of the dark times, like when the you know, like the
More
trench
dark
warfare
times.
from Solo. Oh, give me that.
That's
scenario.
not a what if. That's you pitching a show. That's not a what if.
Yeah, do it.
You're just saying what if they made the show.
What if they made a movie called Solo?
Yeah. I can find out how he got his name. But there you go, John. What ifs about Star Wars, as was asked.
Sorry to make it boring, but I have another Star Wars. what if.
Jacob Ferry, longtime listener, he asked as well, like our favorite moments. So that was similar to Maddie. So I hope, Jacob, you like those answers there. And he says, I can't believe you guys have been doing this for 6 years. So thank you very much. The question I have is a bit grim, but what MCU character do you see dying next? This was another tough one for me because, like, you have people like Tom Hiddleston who literally interviews. It's like, I'll play Loki as long as they want. So, like, I feel like lots of people, him, Hemsworth, even Ruffalo, they've said similar things of kind of like, as long as they want me to do it, I'll do it. Unlike Downey and Evans, which there's rumors that they're kind of like, they want out for a bit or want to be done. So, like, I always said, like, if people want to stay, let them stay. They're a box office draw. There's a time. So I went with someone easy, but I think it was someone that still would be heartfelt, and plus he's getting older. I went with Fury because I just didn't see. I didn't see Thor. I don't see Hulk because we got She-Hulk, maybe Hulk's son. So there's stuff there. Loki's on a whole nother level now. I feel like I want Loki in the Avengers right now. I don't want him dying. So, like, and like Captain Marvel's too new. Like, all the people I just feel are too new. I feel like Spider-Man people are off the table because of Sony. So they're either planning on sticking around, contracts, or they're just too new to die off. So that's why Fury to me is someone that you could kill off. You could easily put like Maria Hill in his role.
Right.
Wouldn't be as good in my opinion because I like Colby Smulders, but she's no Sam Jackson. But that would have some weight to it. There's maybe like Hawkeye, but I really feel like they're going to have him retire with his family because that's always been the running joke, and he just got them back. And maybe he dies. That would be very tragic if he finally gets to retire with his family in Hawkeye and then he dies. But I hope not. Like, Endgame gave us enough like sad endings. I'd like, you know, like the way Cap got a good ending, especially after Ronan. Like, he had 5 years gone from his family. So Fury's the one for me that could seem likely and would hurt us in the process. That was my pick.
Yeah, I went with Hawkeye actually on this one.
Oh,
Yeah, like you brought up some good points, especially all the end game stuff. Like, it is really touching. And then like he literally went through hell. He lived 5 years without his entire family,
Yep.
and like that was like a relatively new family he had at the time. So like to lose your entire family at that age of what his kids were at, like that's just totally heart wrenching. But I still feel like I still feel like that'll be the one, especially like I don't think it'll happen like in the next moment that we see him on screen.
so
but
his show, you think he's surviving?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think because like Haley Steinfeld, who's she supposed to be
Kate
playing?
Bishop, the new
Kate
Hawkeye.
Bishop,
Yeah.
and that's not his daughter though.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know. In my head, I still have like some sort of like big like revenge or like avenge type situation with her of like someone actually like took out Hawkeye or something like that.
Okay.
I feel like I was a lot more confident on it until you like brought up the end game stuff, and now I'm like, oh yeah, he probably will retire at the end of the day. But I'm sticking with it because like also just looking at him as a character, like he's done so much that like I just don't think that we have much of his character left.
Mhm.
Whether it was him just being an agent of Shield, not the show, or like just just being like a hired killer basically, which is what he was in like Endgame. And I feel like there's gonna be off to the sunset moment whether he's in a grave or not. And that was my pick because like you're bringing up, like I just feel like a lot of other people that I was comparing, it's just tough to see them being killed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hawkeye's my pick.
My pick is actually Doctor Strange. I feel
Wow.
like Benedict is probably not going to do this role forever. I don't think, like, after a few more years, I think we could easily see him kind of step down. And I say that because I think after we get through this multiversal war stuff, I think he'll kind of like conclude it properly with who knows what allies. And I think that's when either he dies or they kill him off or who knows what happens. So I think that they could easily put like Wong in his place or something like that, or maybe just a new like Sorcerer Supreme or something like that. Because I just feel like Wong's getting, now that he's in Shang-Chi, I feel like he's getting a spotlight now.
That's just one cameo. He's not gonna be like a major player in that, though. I don't think.
He had more lines in Doctor Strange in Endgame, didn't he?
What was it?
He had more lines than Doctor Strange in Endgame, didn't he?
Probably.
Is that everyone?
I think they're
well,
pretty
you wanted
close.
more.
Like, yeah, I
You
guess maybe
wanted
he didn't
more.
talk. Like, I feel like that's a weird, yeah, it's a weird plank to stand on, but okay.
I mean, even in like Infinity War, like he's there. They always
Mhm.
make a point of putting him in these scenes. So I just feel like but who knows? At the end of the day, I do feel like Doctor Strange could be axed after he kind of gets through this multiversal war.
Really? You don't even
yeah.
think we're gonna get Doctor Strange 3?
Honestly, I don't.
I think we're at least getting 3.
don't.
I think they like their trilogy. So I could see the third one, and I don't think they'll ever kill him off. I think he'll get caught in some portal or spell and be like missing in like the multiverse or outer realm somewhere, you know?
That's true. Do we have trilogies for every Marvel movie?
I mean, every Marvel. Well,
'Cause I know we got Thor, Iron Man, Captain America.
not Hulk, but that's a
They
distribution.
explain that.
Yeah, that's not their problem. They can't put out the movies. They can, but they'd have to share money. Spider-Man's getting his trilogy.
That's true.
Guardians are getting their trilogy.
That's true.
I imagine Black Panther will probably get a trilogy.
Black
once
Widow
they
getting a
do it.
trilogy.
Maybe, but not with ScarJo. I think Elena can get those other two. So yeah, I think trilogies are pretty common. I'm trying to think what other
Fair.
sequel. Ant-Man's getting his trilogy.
Yeah, that's true.
So I could see third one is maybe when he bites the dust, but I don't think so. I think most of these characters when they bite the dust will be in big crossovers because they want that to happen in those. So that's my prediction. If Strange goes, he like goes missing and then he can come back or something. So all right, so let's see here. This is from our patron Clay. Clay is always a good time talking about movies and whatnot, and hopefully you're on the next After 9. But he's moved up to LA, so he's doing some film stuff there. So
Nice.
very excited. But he said your favorite oldie movies as anything from before 1980. Planets of the Apes. Oh, there's this one for mine was Planet of the Apes. Legitimately, I always think Shining is before, but it's not. It's literally 1980. But my two are. I put Planet of the Apes as one, but the reason I did that because my other one's boring. It's Godfather, but that's like Godfather 1 and 2 is like a lot of people's. But Planet of the Apes was just I remember seeing it at a young age, and that just I think being the first sci-fi movie other than Star Wars movie, which is like people kind of describe Star Wars as almost more of a fantasy movie, right? Because there's no science fiction really in it. It's laser swords and the Force. It just happens to be in space. Yeah, exactly. you know, Briggs hates that stuff, but like, Planet of the Apes just stuck with me as far as I loved that idea. If you land on this planet and that's what you probably know too. Like I like a lot of those racial like allegory movies. Kyle's been one of my best friends for a long years, so it's like, and I had friends before that too. But knowing people that went through like race problems, but the problem was like I didn't think about that at that age. At that age, it was like a cool movie about these monkeys that took over the planet. And then as I got older, I got a different appreciation for it. And then as always, that's to me, I think one of the very first twists that like really stuck with me that I didn't know was we were talking about in the Loki review, but he's trying to find a way out of there. And then when he looks up, he sees the Empire State Building and it's just, the Statue of Liberty. And just that twist of it's been Earth the whole time. I remember just as a kid being like, whoa, that's fucked up. Because I think that was one of the first movies I saw that had like a dark ending. That's like, it's not happy. It's not good for our heroes. And then like the sequels go down. But like as a kid, I loved all those sequels, the adventures, everything like that. I saw the Tim Burton remake. I liked that at the time. So I'm very excited one day. I know Disney's making another one, so we'll definitely retro them. But Planet of the Apes is my go-to. Big Charlton Heston fan. Love him. But yeah, that's my oldies one. Is Damn Dirty Apes.
Stars,
Oh, I know. It's great. I love those so much. It's just such great science fiction movies, you know?
Yeah, I had Planet of the Apes as well. My dad had them like all on VHS, and I remember just like always getting him to like hook them up on the screen for me, and then I'm pretty sure I'd watch them like in their bedroom. Like I would just got all set up. My dad would hook me up with Planet of the Apes, and I just
Turn around, son. Yeah.
but like I just pretty much what Travis said. Like I remember like when I watched those movies, I was so interested because it was something just so like new and like I was born in the 90s, so like there's probably like a lot more sci-fi stuff at the time, but I just felt like that was the one that we had in our collection, and I watched that movie. I don't quite remember all of like the sequels. I know I've seen them because like my
Yeah.
dad had them
It's
all
a
on
big
VHS.
mix of stuff.
Yeah, but like I 100% agree with you on like the ending. I remember when that happened and like expecting like, because at that age
He's gonna get out of there.
every time I saw movies like they had happy endings, and then
Yeah.
it was just something like that happened. I just remember being like terrified, and I remember even just like the prosthetics that they had for
Mhm.
the monkeys. They like scared me every time they're
Good.
on screen, and I
Yeah.
just still couldn't look away. I'm like, this is just so captivating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had that one as well as like I guess A New Hope, like that came out 77.
Yeah,
right? So
true,
that's an
yeah.
easy one.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
the same thing, but I'm sure hopefully Taylor just didn't go that route and we're shitting on him. But like, yeah, I picked a different one too, just because like that's an obvious one. New
Yeah,
Hope is, you know.
And then I had another one that I actually just saw probably a couple years ago now. Clockwork Orange.
Very
I
good.
I didn't realize
Anything
how old
Kubrick
that
did,
was,
yeah.
but like that is just such a. I feel like that's just like ahead of its time for like a movie
100%.
like that, and it blew my mind. And when I was this question was posed, I just like went on to like make sure I had the dates right of
Yeah.
like movies before 1980s, and I saw it on there. I'm like, oh shit, okay, that one really stuck with me, but I didn't see it till later on
Yeah.
in life. But still, such a phenomenal movie. I feel like not enough people have really seen it. It's probably just like a dating thing because it's just
Yeah, and
so old now.
it's a darker movie too, so
Yeah.
it's not really one you want to put on just for shits and
No.
giggles. But I'm excited one day. I hope that we do a Kubrick retro, and I'd like to see Taylor see some of these films because I don't think you've probably seen Clockwork Orange or 2001: Space Odyssey or Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, there's a lot, and he did The Shining, but yeah, Kubrick is one of the all-time goats. So one of the all-time great of all times.
So I did go like cliche route, like A New Hope. That's one of them.
Yeah. That's
My other one is definitely Jaws. I
oh,
think.
good one. Yeah.
That was just it's iconic in its own right. I mean, Steven Spielberg, John Williams, and it's just I mean, you guys have seen it. I mean, everyone has. Like, I wasn't alive back then in the 70s, but from what I've been told by my parents, like that kept people out of the water,
Oh, yeah.
terrified people.
My mom said like literally she's like scared to have a bath because of that movie.
It's just like I nowadays like I will actually like sing the song that Quinn will sing, like I sing it to Madison. It's just like, show me the way to go home, I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Like
this video's been demonetized now. I thought you were gonna say that you sang the other thing to
yeah, when I'm like when it's like zucchini night, I'm sneaking in the bed.
Hide the zucchini, not just zucchini now. Okay, what other? He asked a few other ones. I have a good one, Clay. There. Best childhood movie theater experience. I feel like we might share the same one, even though there's an age difference. Like you guys are much older than me, so like that's the thing. But for me, Spider-Man one with Tobey was, I think, still like I had seen the prequels and everything like that, but to me, that was the first one where I remember going to a movie theater. I mean, because I saw opening weekend with the family, so maybe that's why like Phantom Menace had, but it's like there was like a line outside the theater, you know. And I like, even though now watching older, we have some fun. There's memes, there's some cheesiness, but seeing that on the big screen was the first time being like, wow, this is stuff I've loved my whole life, and it's on screen, and it's just like there's a score, there's acting, there's effects. It was just the greatest thing. Like I bought the novelization, everything. So for me, and I had seen Batman ones before, but I think like I said, that was the first one that just felt like this is like, oh, this is a big moment for everybody. Like being in a line for a movie, which doesn't happen anymore, but back then was just crazy. And that was, to me, was like the first one I can remember is that 2002 Spider-Man of like, wow, this is a big deal. And there's just loving that movie from start to finish. So yeah, that was that's probably my best childhood one that I can distinctly remember.
Yeah, it's great. Like I had like a hard time just pinning one because I mean I was very fortunate. Like I had a lot of good just like movie going experiences when I was really young. Like whether it was just going to see Harry Potter's when they were coming out like the first night because my sister was really into them. So then it just becomes like a household thing.
Yeah.
I I remember specifically like Spy Kids 3D. I just thought that was so cool that like. Okay, I'm putting on my glasses, and then like the actors on screen, they're like, "Hey, now put on your," and like they just like it was a part of the movie, and I was just at that right age where I was just eating all of that up.
I was so pissed when they killed Elijah Wood off in 10 seconds.
I'm the guy.
Yeah, and that was right after Return of the King, and I remember I was watching with my sister and auntie, and he came up, and my auntie knew how much I like Lord of the Rings. She's like, "Oh, look, it's that guy you like," and then he's gone. He gets dusted.
By the time she's done talking, he's already dead.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I remember I think that was almost like one of my first critic bones in my body. Like, oh, I hated that they did that. But I'm sure if I watch it now, it's a pretty funny joke. But at the time, like, oh my God, Frodo's in this. This is hype. And Yeah, he gets
That's
taken care of pretty
hilarious.
quick. Yeah.
And then like again, just tying in with like seeing Harry Potter's when those were coming out, like the Pirates movies,
Oh, yeah.
those were like so huge. Like I love those movies, and like I remember just seeing is it At World's End, the second last one?
Dead Man, wait a minute, the second last one, or you mean the second of the
Yeah,
trilogy?
the middle one. So
Yeah,
Dead Man's
that's
Chest,
just the
and like
second
how
one.
that leaves on a cliffhanger. I remember being
Yes.
like in the theater and like, no, what? No, I have to wait how long for the new one? And I feel like that was the
Yeah.
first time I really experienced like a movie cliffhanger like that, and I was just so torn because I'm
So
like,
tell
that was
me
so
now,
yeah, because
what's
like
become of my ship?
like
Such
if
a
you
good
think of
moment.
how that movie ends too, like they're pretty much just like leaving Jack to like
Oh yeah.
die, and like
Very
at that point in
convoluted.
time, I think Jack's just like the hero of the entire show because I just love him, and then just seeing how it ended there, I'm like, no, there's no way, what?
Yeah.
And then my last one, this is probably like the most wholesome one. I remember it was so random, like this never really happened, but for some reason it was just me and my mom going to see like a movie together, like in the middle of the day. We went and saw Brother Bear. And I don't know how old I was, but like I was literally like laughing hysterically out loud, and I remember it so vividly. And it was one of those
18-year-old
movies.
Kirkland. Calm down, Kirkland.
But like I remember so vividly.
All these kids in the theater, Kirkland grown adult, just
Just shitting on my wholesome memory here. But like there was a good amount of time when they would have like movies, and then in like the credits there would just be like bloopers or whatever. And in this one, it's an animated movie, but they still had like bloopers for it, and I was like belly laughing, and like me and my mom still talk about that one. 6 years with this guy. How do I put up with 6 years of this?
I just think your mom's sitting here watching this fucking shit ass kids movie, and you're just like, ha ha, Brother Bear. So Taylor, yours has to be when the kid farted right at Lego movie.
Oh, that fucking Lego movie. God damn. Just hear the room. Such a horrible experience. That and Jigsaw. Two of the worst scenarios you ever want. How could the mom ignore me? I kid you not. I looked at her like this.
She spent a whole life ignoring her husband. She can definitely ignore you.
My God.
Did you make eye contact with her?
No, she wouldn't look at me.
Well, there you go.
I went
Why
like
she-
this and I looked at her, and she just. I feel like it's like you're being looked at and you like concentrate staring forwards. I felt like she was like sweat was coming down like her brow. Like.
The next time you turn around, she just pepper sprays you. Get away, you freak.
Oh, but as far as like good memories go of the theater,
Did you see Brother Bear?
I saw that in theater. I'm pretty sure, but I don't remember
Was
like
there an
laughing.
obnoxious kid laughing during
No.
it?
I can't remember my parents like tickling me like, isn't this movie great? But I think it's a great movie though, Kirkland. I think Brother Bear is
Oh, get
fantastic.
off.
It's a really good movie. Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. This is probably my go-to wholesome movie theater experience.
Wholesome.
So I remember, it was playing at the theater. I remember the theater is still open, good, and at the Vancouver Island. And I remember there were people dressed up as Ayla Secura, as Twi'leks, as Jedi. It was like, and for a little kid, this was crazy. My mom bought me a Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith like Clone Trooper AT Walker set at like Lego. I was like ecstatic, cloud nine, going in there to see Star Wars. Now here's the thing though. I was old enough, and I remember because I thought, well, we got such a cool storyline of Boba Fett and Attack of the Clones. I can't wait to see him in the armor in Revenge of the Sith. I remember coming out, and then like little Taylor, I'm like, wow, Boba Fett wasn't in that at all. I'll never forget that.
They Elijah Wood, yeah.
They did.
But I even got 20
Oh.
seconds of wood.
My other experience now, I don't remember anything else outside of seeing this one scene of the movie in the theater. It was Jurassic Park 3, and it was literally just the plane scene when the Spinosaurus ran in front of the runway and the plane was taking off. That's all I remember, but I remember seeing it in the theater as a little kid in 2001. That's it. That's like my oldest movie theater memory I can think of. Pirates of the Caribbean, the only one I remember seeing in theaters was at World's End, and my sister took me, and it was so packed I didn't get to sit with her. I had to sit on my own, and that was really sad. But I enjoyed the movie. She was like 5 rows behind me.
She wasn't there.
Oh yeah, she
just
never
picked you
came
up
back.
after the movie.
I was all alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just reminded me. I was a little bit older. I was probably like middle school, high school era. But it was when Alice in Wonderland came out, I believe.
The live action one?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the same
It's
time,
like, you're not that old.
it was the comedy movie Cop Out with Tracy Morgan and yeah, Bruce Willis. And I remember I was going with me, my sister, my sister's friend, and like my sister's friend's brother. And they like the two girls had purchased their tickets for Alice in Wonderland like ahead of time, and then we got
Oof.
there and it was sold out. So it was like me and this guy that like I didn't even really know who he was. It was like, okay, let's just go see a different movie, I guess. So we went and saw Cop Out, and we loved Cop Out. Like like I don't know if have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
like
Kevin
it's
Smith movie.
yeah, it's is it?
Yep.
Oh wow, there you go. But I like we both were laughing out loud. Like it was just a good time. And then I remember we were leaving the theater, and my sister and her friend just like, oh, that movie sucked. Like we hated that movie. It's like, man, we lucked out. We went and saw a Cop Out without even intending it. But it was just funny because it reminded me of like, oh fuck, what, the movie's sold out. Like we can't see this. But improvise, adapt, overcome.
There you go. Let's see here. Do you think all this podcasting has made you appreciate movies, TV, video games more, or do you think it has made you more critical of them? I feel like I was pretty critical when we started the podcast, but I definitely more, and I think I'm more critical too because there's sometimes where it's obviously for content or for like something to talk about where it's like this is time consuming. So it's like if it's not time consuming in your life, like if it's regular life, you're just like, whatever, I put on a movie. But if it's like, okay, I'm going to watch this and then also talk about for probably 2 hours with these people, I'm hoping it's good. So most of the time I'm I've definitely gotten more critical just because you talk about it more. So it's like repetition, you catch things more. That's just kind of a combination of my life of like wanting to do more film, studying film. So I think I'd be that way anyways, but definitely in general. And I'm also more critical of like, I'll know what these guys might not like too. So I'll be watching, like, I'm liking this, but like, oh yeah, Taylor's not gonna like this, or Kirkland's not gonna like this, or something like that. Or usually I usually know, I'd say 85% of the time what Dylan's not gonna like after we did so many casts together. So definitely more critical, but not in a bad way because I think it's a fun way. And there's still times where I can turn off the critical the brain and just have a good time. But it is sometimes a bit harder. So.
Yeah, so like early stage of the podcast, I mean, if you just listen to those episodes, I feel like it just goes without saying how much I've just changed as like just be like having an eye for like certain details in movies and stuff like that. I've just learned so much of just talking about movies on what it takes to make a movie, whether it's all of the different layers. Like I feel like back in the day, like you could put a gun to my head and be like, "Okay, now listen for when like the score is playing," and I would have just like completely not heard it. You know, like
what's the Snyder cut?
So I feel like I'm kind of both, like in the sense of like, okay, now I know all the little details in the movie, so I can like pick out whether like the score is hitting at like a perfect moment or like really appreciate certain like just artistical shots of like a really well shot scene, like like cinematography wise. So like in that sense, since I'm more aware of it, if it's bad, then I will be more critical of it.
Yeah.
But when it's really good, like I just appreciate it so much more. Like, I think the first time I like ever cried in a movie theater was Infinity War, and before that, I felt like I was just in to see movies and like flashy lights, and I'd be like, okay, did you like the movie? Yeah, I liked it, so probably 10 out of 10. You know, like that would be like my rating style. Whereas by the time Infinity War came around, I was just so invested in movies at that point of being like growing attached to these characters that I've seen throughout like multiple movies and just like really investing my whole being into this experience. Yeah. So in that sense, when it's really good, it's like the best thing ever for me. And I never really would have got that, I don't think, if I didn't start doing the podcast, because you just get more aware of stuff in that sense. But again, since I'm talking about it more, when something sucks, it probably like hurt more because I'm like, hey, I know what's good now. Yeah. So I'm kind of in the middle in that sense. But overall, I'd say I would definitely think it's more positive of like seeing movies, because I just appreciate a lot more of what goes into make one and what makes it really, really good. And whether it's an actor's performance or something like that, it's just, yeah, I'm really glad that I've gone through the podcast to just gain a more appreciation for this art form. It's just so awesome to be living in this era that we're getting like movies, but let alone like the golden era of comic book movies, which is just awesome.
TV shows, Disney Plus, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. So
multiple Batmans and Jokers. The only other thing I'd say, like as far as critical too, for me, it's not that so much me. I feel like Now when people ask me about a movie, I unfortunately can't give them like a quick like, did you like it or did you not? I'm like, yeah. Like I kind of try to be like, well, how do I do this but not do this? They're like, yeah, well, I like this, but even when I talk about them with Emily, it's like there's certain things where it's like, oh yeah, this isn't the podcast. I gotta wait for that, and that's the only other thing that's changed too. Is there's this weird unspoken rule in podcasts. Like even with the GUA people, it's like you don't talk about if you really liked it or you disliked it till you reviewed it or you've heard their review, and it's so funny. But definitely with people that don't do podcasting, talking with them about movies is a lot different because you're like, oh yeah, I remember what it used to be like, not to be like ingrained in this 24/7. Yeah, okay, cool.
100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me just do that. Like one last thing on that is, I notice now when I'm watching a movie, especially because I know we're reviewing it, I
Yeah.
like literally have like numbers in my head of like, okay, my rating's at
Yeah,
7 right
me
now, and then a
too,
scene
yeah.
will happen. It's like, ooh, 6.5. Oh
Yeah.
shit, like 8, and then it goes back down. So it's
Yeah.
just funny, like my thought process.
Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
10. Oh, he's
And then
gone.
100% what you said there. It's just like, oh, what do you think about it? But like, I feel like in the early days, I would ask you right away in the movie, and now it's like I don't even bother because
Yeah.
unspoken rule, like you
Yeah.
said.
You gotta be a yes. I feel like we've twisted you too much now.
I've become much more critical about things. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, when I watch movies, and I try to do this even nowadays still, I will, and I shouldn't say this because I review things, but I try to like go in and I'll just shut my brain off. Like, let's just fucking get into it. I want to see explosions. I want to see Transformers, dinosaurs, space, lasers, like everything. And that being said, like I don't mind sitting back and enjoying like a good story. Like let's get something like The Departed going on or something like that, or a Bourne Ultimatum kind of storyline. Like there's definitely some shows like that I like. Like I'm excited. Like Gunpowder Milkshake. I don't know when I'm gonna watch that, but I'm excited to watch that. Like different things that aren't always explosions I like. And then that being said,
that is a movie with explosions, though.
yeah, it's true. It's coming to a point now where I've had to kind of like, okay, I can't fully have my brain completely off when I watch it. I gotta record mentally certain notes. But again, it's hard because I like so much. But then when we talk about it all together, and I think, well, you know what, that really fucking sucked. But
You finally realized Taskmaster sucked, eh? Finally.
no, give me a year. But yeah, it's just it's definitely made me. I don't want to say cynical. I think that's too much of a
Yeah.
term. But I'll say like it's definitely made me more critical of things.
Yeah. Let's see here. My phone's not cooperating with me. Okay, at this point in your lives, this was an interesting one. At this point in your lives, do you think any new content can be your favorite thing of all time, or are your favorites set in stone? Kirkland, you go ahead. What do you think? Like, you probably got a favorite game, favorite movie, favorite TV show. Do you think at any point in your life that can be changed?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I wasn't like accounting for like all all of what that encompasses. Like I feel like my mind kind of just went like my favorite movie or something. But yeah, like I do believe that yes, it can change because just looking at my path, like in my life, I've gone from my favorite sport being hockey, my favorite sport being soccer, my favorite sport being basketball, my favorite sport just like being all sports and just like competitiveness. So like if I'm looking at that regard for sure. And then, when you have something like Endgame that comes out, like I obviously had a favorite movie before that point or like a favorite movie going experience from that point.
Yeah.
But like, are we going to get an Endgame 2? Like that's tough to top.
I don't think they'll call that Kirkland. But.
Endgame 2, Return of Thanos.
Yeah. Thanos Strikes Back.
So I feel like, yes, for sure, I will have like a new favorite. But nostalgia is a very real thing because I do look back at, I mean, it's like a running joke on the podcast now of how I'm just so bad at like finishing a game. There was a point in time when I would get a game and like literally like not put it down until it's like literally just completed. I've gotten like Assassin's Creed 2. I got every feather in that game, like 100% in it, got the platinum trophy, and like I would just go hard on that. And like maybe that was just a time thing. Like I just had a lot more free time. Maybe I just had a lot more passion for like that type of video game or whatever it might be. So, but I don't know because I don't know, like everything's just constantly evolving and you would think that it's just getting better and better. More like unique IPs or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if like the blanket answer is just yes, I do believe I will have a new favorite. But if you're asking me like something gonna beat Endgame, I don't know. It's possible, I guess, but that was pretty fucking crazy of a lead up for a huge climactic moment like that. But
Yeah. I think for myself, I think video games for me is a yes, because my favorite video game was Arkham City, but it's either like 1A or 1B, or I just have Death Stranding as number one, and that was 2019. I think with video games it's different because for me those mechanics and playstyle like will be evolving and everything like that. I think with film most time it can just get like a little prettier, like, and I know it sounds bad, but just like it can get higher quality, more hertz, more this, more like better special effects, but like the actual playing of a video game I think is a lot different. So games, I'm pretty confident on that could change for a while. Like Arkham City came out, I can't remember when, in the 2010s, I think. So like, I don't know. Yeah, Kirkland's gonna probably pull it up there because I think Arkham Asylum came out maybe 2008, 2009 ish, like 2011. Okay, so look at that. So then it was 8 years, and then I got a new favorite game. So not too bad. Where Something the Dark Knight, that's my favorite movie. That's 2008. We're coming on what now? Almost. So what is that? Quick math there. So we got almost 13 years now. Summer 13, 14 by the time this comes out. So like that's tough because that's an over a decade record, and that movie was just so special for so many reasons. I didn't shout that out in the theater experience one because like I don't think I considered myself a child then, but that was a movie that just like that was like, I want to do this. I want to do something like this. It had that Heath Ledger effect. And Logan got pretty close. I do legitimately think, and this is why I might end up being disappointed, I do think The Batman has the best shot, and that's probably because it's Batman. But I think it will have to be something Batman related because the Batman part's the nostalgia, but that still to be a great movie for me to put up that high. But The Dark Knight is just like, it's tough. It's that is just like a perfect film to me pretty much. So that one's going to be tough. And same with the TV show, because with the video games, tech can get better, gameplay can get better. But that's to me saying like, okay, at some point there's going to be a better story than The Dark Knight and Breaking Bad. And that's tough for me to think that. But maybe it'll come. And Breaking Bad started, I can't remember when, 2000, I think 7, 8-ish or something like that. So same thing, kind of over a decade of that show being my favorite. Hannibal got pretty close. So maybe if Hannibal had other seasons, there's a chance. But yeah, movie's the hardest. I'm still waiting, but I still feel like there's a good shot. I Could Die in The Dark Knight's still my favorite movie. So,
for video games now, it's interesting because there's always that game that like those OG ones, like you had said, like back in the day when you could commit so much time into these things. They're great games, are your favorites, all that kind of stuff. That was definitely the case for me. Like nowadays, where I have Assassin's Creed and these long story-driven games, where I realize that who I am as a person has changed to being more fast-paced games, like your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, and more drop in, drop out kind of stuff. And it's not so much like my interests have changed. I think it's just the way that the games have been kind of made nowadays that's kind of like turned me away from certain story-driven titles. Again, like I'm always there for a Star Wars game no matter what. I just need one, fucking EA. I just think that in terms of like Call of Duty, like I would say this is a prime example. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, now the remake. As far as Call of Duty games go, Modern Warfare 2 was like the last, like one of my all-time favorites, and then this one came along, and this one totally blew it out of the water for me. It was so fantastic. Again, now COVID has done many things, but when we had like so much time off and like we were blowing like a whole month on Call of Duty Warzone, like there's just so many happy memories. Like that in that game, like everything about it.
I was still working, but that's fine.
So now when they release like the new Call of Duty Cold War, it drives me up a wall. Like it's got good components to it, but then as that game, like here's a prime example. It has a 10 gigabyte update, and it freezes halfway through the update. So I pause the update, and what does it do? Uninstalls the 250 gigabyte game. The whole fucking thing. It's ridiculous. It drives me up a fucking wall. It doesn't make any sense. It's done that 3 times. I've had to reinstall 250 gigs 3 fucking times. I fucking hate it. So I've never had that happen with Modern Warfare.
I can see it too. What? No. Stop it.
Madison doesn't like it when that happens.
It's happening again, Madison.
I got cat hair in my fucking mouth. God. Ugh. I gotta rinse my mouth out after that. Yeah, as far as movies, it just has to. I gotta rinse that. Take over.
So we'll get back to Taylor. We'll move on to the next question because I don't know how long he's gonna take in there.
Mouthwashing over there.
We'll see here. The cat's here sitting right beside Taylor.
cat.
So, but yeah, thanks everyone for the questions. We still got a few
Absolutely.
more
Great
here.
questions so far.
Been a fun time. We're rounding down here soon. Trying to kill time, but Taylor's thing is sweet as. Oh, he closed the door.
I'm trying to think of
Okay.
what my favorite TV show was back in the day. I feel like now it's definitely Breaking Bad as just like a complete show.
Yeah.
I watched that when I went to school in Alberta, and
Mhm.
I just was in my dorm anytime I wasn't doing homework. Like that's what I was watching was Breaking Bad. So I got so into it.
Yeah.
Because I think of some other really great shows, but I just don't think that like as a complete they're even there. Like you'd bring up Dexter, but like obviously if you're looking at it, you always make the argument like what season 1 to 3,
1 to 4.
or 1 to 4, yeah.
That's the tough part with the show. It just has to be perfect. Not perfect, but just like great the whole way through.
Yeah.
You know, multiple seasons, multiple episodes. Really tough thing to do. You know, it's not an easy task. So
No, exactly, but
we can answer this one quick because I really had no answer. Clay, maybe it's something to do with you, but you said if you could move anywhere in the world, but you had to completely abandon your current family or friends, where would you go and why? And my answer was just what the fuck. But like, definitely, like I know your question is like if you had to. So if I had to, like way back in the day, it would have been Florida before they got even more fucking crazy. But nowadays, I don't know. It'd be somewhere again, even with family, with my fiance and kids. But even if not, it would be like kind of taking the Dexter, just like as long as I got Wi-Fi, like I don't know. I just cock
hanging out, yeah.
No idea. Last half an hour, just this Taylor cock to the side, just oh, it hangs to the left. If I had to, yeah, probably Florida again, because then I could go clubbing, partying up, and whatnot. Because that's just what I would have to do. Because apparently I'm just alone who abandoned my family and friends. Like I said, I don't know if this is because you just moved, Clay, and you want to ask us another question, but yeah.
Are we going back to Taylor for?
Yeah, you want to answer anything on the movie side there?
I was just gonna say, like, as far as movies go, it just depends. Like, it's hard for me to trade up like Jurassic Park, Star Wars kind of thing. Like, I don't think anything can ever top those.
Just more Jurassic Park and
Just
Star
more
Wars.
Jurassic Park and Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's all.
Jurassic World and Star Wars, yeah.
Universe.
So yeah, where would you move if you had to completely
Yeah.
abandon your friends and family and live this terrible life?
It's funny
Thanks,
because
Clay.
I feel like like on surface like the question is kind of strange. 'Cause I feel
Yeah,
like
what? Are you
I'm
on the
type of
run right
person
now,
that probably
Clay?
wouldn't do that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
now that I'm in a solid relationship, like I can't see myself doing
You got
that.
6 hours
like,
to go.
I don't know what it was, like just having a weird thought one night. I feel like I probably had that idea of like what happened if like my entire family just died or something like
Or
that.
they found out I was a serial killer.
like whatever it might be. So I feel like I kind of ran through that situation in my head. It's not abandoning them. It's just like if I literally had no one and like what would I do in my
Yeah.
life? I probably would just go to like the Himalayan mountains and like live in Nepal or something. Just like become a farmer or something. I think I'd be okay with just like stepping away from like all technology that way and just like living a slow life. Maybe like become friends with some like Buddhist monks or something and like go that route.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
always just loved like the scenery of the Himalayan mountains and like Nepal. I definitely want to go there one day. I was super jealous when Dylan went there, but he also went there I think when Infinity War came out, so he
Yeah.
missed out on Infinity War and Endgame
Yeah,
reviews.
you did, yeah.
So I probably wouldn't trade that because those were some great memories, great episodes to be on. But yeah, that would probably be my location. But again, it's pretty much tied to like if shit literally hit the fan and like all my family just got snapped or something, look for me in the mountains somewhere.
In the mountains, yeah.
For me, reading the question now, it actually didn't register about the ditching your family.
You're just taking your
So-
family with you.
So, but that being said, I would probably go somewhere east, like probably Japan or China or something like motherland, like
Yeah.
Russia.
I meant China because you were Chinese.
Oh yes.
I know he's Russian too, apparently, now. He just revealed.
He's
He's Chinese, he's Russian, he's French, yeah.
yeah, probably just like the like Europe, just that general area. Just I think there's so many places that are just really nice over there. That
With the hostels, the red rooms and everything?
Yeah, the red rooms.
Yeah.
Just places like again, like if I'm trying to purposely hide from my family, I don't think it'd be hard to do. So, I think that I think just kind of like coming up with a new alias and just trying to like stay under the radar out there and just like live in a little cottage, have a couple sheep, a dog, be pretty good.
Thank you, Clay, for your questions. Fanboy Clay asked, which video game would you like to see get a film series or a TV series? Like he said, a film trilogy or TV series, probably because he's probably in the same boat that we are as far as one films aren't really working as far as for a series. It's tough because like The Witcher's out, that would have been a good one. There's other ones like the obvious one is Knights of the Old Republic. That's like the go-to, like, oh, do this. But the one I picked that was, I've never played a drama, so I don't know, but is Mass Effect. I think Mass Effect as a series would work well. Like I've said before, I think primarily all video games, barring a few, should be a series. I think they just work better because you can have side episodes that are your side quests. But Mass Effect, I just think because we have Star Wars coming out, but since maybe Battlestar Galactica, I can't think of like a big space show we've had. Maybe that could be Halo coming up, but I think there's some untapped potential. I had another one, but I'll mention that because that's the answer for my question. So that's what I had was Mass Effect. Great role-playing game.
Yeah, so I feel like I was going for like an easy one, more of like I picture this being like an animated series or something. My mind like right away just went Jack and Daxter because I really love that series. Growing up, it was like PS2 game and it was just I thought you were like adjust this.
Fixing my hair. Yeah. Your cock's out. That's our sign.
Me and Taylor this whole time.
Just cocking it out.
It's like, why did that episode do so well on YouTube?
Yeah.
Or
and
demonetize
and destroy our careers. Podcast. Or the whole epide's just you guys like that, but there's a blur thing there. So like, what happened there?
Oh man. So yeah, Jack and Daxter. I kind of want like that series to like come back in a similar vein that like Ratchet and Clank kind of is like coming back that way. I don't know how successful that's doing. I haven't really followed it. Actually, wasn't there in a movie for Ratchet?
There was,
yeah.
Yeah, I think the new game's doing well. So
yeah, so there you go. I would love to just jump back in the Jack and Daxter world. It was just really like whimsical and fun in the first game, and then the second game went like very dark and like a more serious turn, and then Jack 3 again just kind of stayed a more serious route. So it felt like a series that was kind of growing with the audience, which kind of seemed rare at the time. So that would probably be my pick. My other one that I had in my mind was like the Uncharted series, but like that's just so similar to like Indiana Jones. So again, it's probably
doing a movie. Remember
Tom Holland? Oh yeah, Tom Holland. That's right. There you go. So
that
I guess that's why I didn't choose that as my answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, like an animated series, Jack and Daxter.
I think, I mean, for me, clearly, they should have done the Halo a long time ago. And I know it's supposedly getting a show at some point.
It is. It's filmed.
Yeah,
it's filmed. I'm pretty sure it's done.
Okay, good. I think that, I mean, it should have been a movie a long time ago. I think they could have done like a really good trilogy with that. That being said, I think for me, the obvious go-to is to do an Elder Scrolls series of some shape or form, whether it be film, TV show, I don't know, like a Game of Thrones style kind of like TV show event. I think it would just be phenomenal. I'm biased because I've played mostly Skyrim, and Dylan would hate this pitch, but I think a Skyrim one would be awesome. Just to have it'd be a great introduction to that
face
world.
during that announcement.
Oh yeah.
They're skipping over Morrowind.
Oh, I just think having like the Dragonborn just as an introductory character fighting dragons as they resurrect in a show would just be super cool. Again, we see how well like those time periods do in media. It's great. Like The Witcher's phenomenal in that time period, so they should do more of that. We really don't have anything right now that's focused on like medieval age content that's like cinematic, like TV show and movie, which is such a shame.
Well, you have The Witcher, then Game of Thrones making 50 spin-offs, so you'll get it.
Yeah, that we're not going to see those for a while. But I mean, that's it. Just like these big heavy hitters, like nothing since Lord of the Rings. Obviously, we're getting that Amazon series. Who the fuck knows when that is?
Well, that was the thing though with fantasy. It's tough after Lord of the Rings. can you name something other than Game of Thrones that was big in fantasy? Like, it's tough
I
to
can't, but
crack.
they should put it out there. Like, let's do something.
I think they
like,
do. It just bombs. I think that's
do like R-rated Narnia movies or something. Like,
well, and then remember you have the Lord of the Rings TV show coming out through Amazon and stuff. So
yeah, but we don't know when that'll come.
what? No, but it's coming. It's
It's coming.
filming. It's all stuff, you know. So I think it's
Yeah.
just tough to crack after Lord of the Rings. But with Skyrim, you never know because I'm very excited. I haven't heard much news on it recently, but that Amazon's supposed to be making a Fallout TV show, and I think that'll
Well,
be.
we
very-
reported on that back in Dylan's basement, didn't we?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's been that long. I can get a
Oh.
date on that, but I think if that plays, Bethesda will want to make more stuff. So I'll look into it, but we've not heard much about it. It plays, yeah.
Nice. Next question.
Next question, while I'm looking that up, is I picked what, because I think it was, I didn't have this question, but it was one of our anniversary casts. Someone asked, like, what movie world would you want to live in?
Yeah.
So I span and said, what video game world would you want to live in? So Kirkland Patzer.
Yeah, so on that question, I'm pretty sure I chose like Dragon Ball for like what, and like I'm like I could go the cop out route and just be like, well, there's a game in Dragon Ball, so go to that world. But no, I didn't want to do that.
Be just a regular human NPC.
In Dragon Ball. I mean, if I'm going like, oh, I'm the best thing ever, I'd obviously make myself a Saiyan. Cause like I remember being a kid watching Dragon Ball and like Goku has like a monkey tail, and I'm like, that would just be so fucking cool to have, to just like use it as like another hand, whether you're like doing dishes or something, you know, just being a monkey with a monkey tail.
So there's
but
been,
anyways,
for Unfold, there's been no update since August of last year. But that was last year, so we weren't in Dylan's basement. But they could be working on it. Doesn't have to be bad.
Could be.
So.
So yeah, if I'm not going with that same answer that I did last time, I'd probably go like Tamriel. That's the Elder Scrolls universe. I really love the explanation of all of like the magic and stuff in the world, and like I dove deep into like the lore of it because I was kind of fabricating like a D&D campaign set with a lot of elements from the Elder Scrolls, and I just think a lot of the explanations for like why magic's a thing, all like the different gods and all of that stuff is just so interesting to me. And yeah, like again, sorry Dylan, but like Skyrim's definitely one of my favorite games of all time. Like it's just, just like the snowy tundra and everything, but like Tamriel as a whole, like it's more than just what Skyrim is. And it's just really, really cool. I love all the different races and stuff that's in it, so that would be my pick.
So my pick would have been very similar to what I would have picked for a series. I think everyone wants this. Apparently Netflix pitched Nintendo on, but they didn't go for it. But I picked The Legend of Zelda because, man, like, and I don't know what world, even if it is Breath of the Wild, and I don't think it had. Well, maybe I could be in that world and animated like that. But even then, if I'm just picturing it in a real life setting, like Breath of the Wild does have some beautiful landscapes. Just living in a world that has like those wind sounds and like the music coming from the villages and everything, it just feels like, as long as you're there when the sun doesn't go down, it would just feel very magical, very like Lord of the Rings fantasy-ish, but just like something just like, I don't know, just touching in a way. Like it just feels like it would be like a almost Avatar experience where you get there like, wow, and stuff. So that would be my pick, is the Legend of Zelda world. I'm not sure which era, but it wouldn't really, maybe not like the old like Nintendo like the 2-bit era. I'm thinking more at least like, I'm thinking like N64 and up, you know. So that'd be my pick just for the music alone.
So I had two picks of what I would want to do. My first initial pick was Jurassic World Evolution. I would just love to be in that world, caretaking like
Terrible.
dinosaurs, stuff like that. I just think it would be super, super awesome. It'd be so exciting, and like raising them and creating them and all that jazz. My other pick though, 100% would be Pokemon. I would love to be in that world. I'd love to have, again, like a Pokemon right here. I can be like, Parker, cartwheel, just fucking go, and just stuff like that would just be. I just think it would be so awesome to do all the things you can do in a Pokemon game. Just go on that like adventure, like break out when you're like 15, 16 years old, and just cross
out.
countries and everything, and like stop gangs and see legendary Pokemon. Kirkland like that one.
Oh, you like try and do that nowadays. It's just that child went missing. Yeah.
Yeah. We just found his cock on the side of the road.
Oh.
Kirkland, what was your question? We got Kirkland's question and Taylor's question, and then we are out of here.
Yeah, so my question was, what was the first video game that you guys ever remember playing? Doesn't matter what console, just the first video game memory that you have.
Hide the zucchini. No, the two I have is like legitimately the very first one I have is the very first Mario. I feel like my dad just sat me down and was like, we're trying this, we're doing this. This is the easiest one. But I feel like the ones that I feel like I played the most, or like that I have vivid memories of playing with other people, or just like I own this. This is mine. Is GoldenEye. 100%. Like when I think about gaming as a kid, I think about Mario, probably mixing with some Zelda as well, but then GoldenEye. It's just like there's nothing else in between. So I'm guessing I had N64. They started me on that and then got that. But I just remember those fucking bathroom walls, everything, trying to fucking run after Alec on the driveway or whatever it was, or the satellite and everything, and the multiplayer playing with friends. And yeah, GoldenEye is, like I said, Mario's the first one that I picked up. Don't think I ever beat it at that age, but then GoldenEye just. And oh man, I always remember there's that last part in the very first mission where it's like a bunch of people like rushing the washroom. You can just shoot them over and over. But yeah, lots of nostalgia there. Obviously, a bit more of a rigid game nowadays when you play it. It's rough, but those would be my two kind of tied together or linked together. So.
Yeah. I mean, the earliest games I remember playing would have been probably this. It was on the NES. It would have been the original Mario, obviously, Duck Hunt. But then there was this Bill and Ted's Adventure. And it was really weird because, like, again, I didn't have any like game systems like super young at this point. Like my cousin Dylan, he had a NES.
Dylan's your cousin. Wow, I wish we would known that. 6 years, we just learned about it now.
Hot take.
Hot take.
But yeah, he had a NES and he had like a couple games, but the most notable ones that we played were just the Mario and then this Bill and Ted's Adventure game. It was just so random. It was like open world kind of because you're moving around all over this landscape and you go into phone booths and stuff. It was so peculiar. At the time, I didn't know what it was, and then a few months ago, I saw a trailer for a Bill and Ted movie. I was like, "Oh shit, this is actually it," and I connected the dots.
Wow.
Yeah. Other than that, probably Mario Sunshine is probably another earlier one that I remember playing. I remember at the grocery store, our grocery stores in Vancouver Island had like arcades set up. So when the parents are shopping, they had like ball pits, they had gymnasiums inside, and they had like a whole row of GameCubes that you could go and play.
Those greasy remotes.
Yeah. And they had Mario Sunshine. It was like, holy shit, this game is so awesome. Yeah, rest is history.
Yeah, my first video game memory, very, very young. I remember my dad, he was playing Age of Empires, like the original, on his computer. And I remember just like sitting next to him and just being so captivated of like what was going on. And then eventually it transitioned to him like teaching me it. And then I was playing it for like on my own, but like I was just so young. It's a strategy game if you didn't know, real-time strategy. So like it can be overwhelming, you know, if your brain is the size of what mine was at the time. So like he would like there was one cheat, it was like Photon Man, and it would literally just have like a dude with like a laser gun, so OP, because it's like ancient times, right? So he would give me one of those guys to like defend my base, and he's like, don't go like destroy the enemy with that, like this is only for defense. And I remember like every time he'd leave, I'm like, yeah, let's go fucking destroy this base right now with my little army man there. But yeah, no, that was my introduction to strategy games, video games, all of that. And I feel like I've grown to just love like strategy games so much because of like my dad's interested in them. Because like growing up, we had like multiple PCs in our basement, so like we would set up LAN parties and stuff, playing Age of Empires together. So a lot of nostalgia there, but it's also just the first video game I ever had. And then my first like system I think was the Sega Genesis, and there you have the Tim Burton Batman, actually. I had a game for that, and I remember being so pissed off because there was a boss battle with Catwoman, and she fucked me up every single time. I never beat her, and I was so pissed off playing that game that to the point that I think I just like got rid of it. I like threw it out or something. Like I was just so mad at the game because I just couldn't get past it. But like there also like you have your Mortal Kombat's, NHL like 92 or whatever it was at the time. So that was like my introduction to video games.
Well, we're ending off on Taylor. Taylor always has a doozy. So, Taylor, what is your question to end off this 6th year?
My question, I gotta read it word for word actually here. My question is, what conspiracy and cryptid are you most likely inclined to believe without definitive proof at this time in your life?
Oh, I didn't see the and part. I thought it was or. So I'll go first. Conspiracy, I don't know, because there's so many, the moon landing, JFK and stuff. I don't think they're like, I feel like any conspiracy would be something smaller or like wrestling based, so nothing huge. As far as a cryptid, Thanos, I feel with this is like, I'm a see it to believe it sort of guy. I believe there is maybe at some point a Bigfoot type of creature, but I feel like that was like a millennia ago. I don't think they're still running around. Like Taylor always tells me, like, oh, well, if people come there, that's why they leave, because they don't like sound. Like, I just feel like by now we would have caught something, but then they make the argument like, well, we don't want to catch it. I don't know, but it's like aliens, right? It's like, well, we find UFOs now, and the government's like, yeah, those are ours. So if anything, the Bigfoot is like, it's the easiest one, but I feel like there's something like that. Same with Ogopogo. There's probably some sort of like snake type big sea urchin in the water. I don't think it's there anymore. I know it's, oh yeah, those lakes are deep, but I don't know about that. The one I want to be true is the El Chupacabra. That was always my favorite cryptid. When I had heard about it, I couldn't believe it. Then I look into it. Those are some scary ass looking things. And same thing, they probably are just some rabid wolves or dogs back in the day. But I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I'm not a big cryptid guy, but go check out Cryptid Clues, because I like listening to hear their theories and whatnot. But I'm definitely maybe people can say I don't have faith in that way, but I need some really hard evidence, so.
Yeah, I feel like with conspiracies, I've kind of gone on like a weird roller coaster where like I used to be that guy that would just watch YouTube videos for like hours and like just like, oh, look at this image that comes in minute 12, and then I would like, holy shit, aliens are like really here, like I was that guy who was just eating it all up. And then for whatever reason, I might have like saw like one like skeptic breakdown of something, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's all a lie. But then now I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle where I love just like hearing like people like talk about this stuff, because it like, one, they're just so passionate about it, so it's fun to just, I don't know, like get some of their positive energy that they're going on it. When you get to the extreme people, it's like, okay, like, or even the people that might be like exploiting for like financial gain in that route. But I'm a skeptic like right away, but I just love hearing it and then maybe giving it to like an entertainment. And it's like, well, I guess we don't know for sure or against, right? So that's kind of where I stand on conspiracies. But for because I was looking at cryptids, because the thing with like a lot of these things, whether it's like what you mentioned, like El Chupacabra, I think like they are real things that maybe people just like exaggerate or something.
Yes.
And like not even like they're like, oh, I saw a cat, but like fuck, it was a giant cat with giant fangs and wings. I think it's like, who knows? Maybe they're really scared, and then the eyes plays tricks on you, right? Maybe there's a lot of different factors. Maybe they are like super rabid, and in that moment, it literally looks like something completely different. So, in that sense, I do believe what people see, whether it's like ghosts or something like that. But again, like the mind kind of plays tricks on you for that. So I feel like a lot of these things, there's explanations like further into what it might be. But there's no way to really like confirm that, because a lot of these stories have been like passed down word of mouth for like hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
So you never know what it might be. Maybe it is something crazy that literally just got like extinct since then, or like originally the giant squid people thought was just a made up thing, right? And then we actually get a photo of it. It's like, holy fuck. So there's like the Okanagan Lake, the oceans and stuff are incredibly deep. So there's probably super monsters somewhere that we just will never really be able to see, or not at least yet. The one that I do just totally fuck with, and I laugh when I read the name of it. I know it's not this, but I just read it as the A-hole. It's like AHOOL. It's basically like a giant bat, like carnivore thing that lives in like the rainforest of the Amazon. I have seen photos of like really big bats before, and I remember being like, no, that's fake. And then you actually like see, like, I didn't realize how big certain bats can get. I forget the name of a certain one. It's not this cryptid, but it's I think it's somewhere in like maybe South America or something. But it's an actual bat that's just huge. And
Cryptid wiki. Oh no. I'm down the rabbit hole.
like,
Oh come on, this thing.
the A-hole, yeah, man.
This thing that is like this massive.
It's like 10 feet.
Have you ever heard about this, Taylor? Oh,
Oh
you're
my
gonna have to
gosh.
cover it
So,
one
like,
day.
I
Oh my god, this is man bat. There's no way this thing is real.
It could be.
No.
Honestly, like I feel like I
There's no
feel like I
way.
would have been so against it until I saw like photos of just like really big bats. And like if they're in a certain environment that they can just they're the apex predator, they're constantly eating, they're constantly getting bigger. Like, it's there. I would never say like I would bet my life that this thing's real, but it's just I've seen things halfway to that
I've seen
size.
things.
I've seen things halfway to that size, so who's to say that it couldn't get bigger, right? So that's pretty much where I stand. If we're going like just conspiracies, like there's so many conspiracies that blew my mind when I found out that like they're real. Whether it was like you go back to like like the American government like blowing up their own like ships to like just start wars with like the whole conspiracy of like how they started like the Vietnam War or like just like the Cold War era, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, all that stuff. Like that shit's pretty crazy when you think about people at the time were just convinced that that's a conspiracy theory. It's like, no, that's not actually a thing. So like here in 2021 and we have like the history confirming it, like it's like, holy shit. It's crazy how many fishy things are actually real in that sense. The one that I don't think I'm going to get flack for, but I'll say it anyways. COVID came out of a lab, and that's what I'm fucking sicking with. So there you go.
No.
100%.
Oh,
No, yeah.
no.
It came out of the lab. I'm not saying it was intended for like some biological thing, but when you look into what that lab was,
Oh no.
dude, I'm convinced it was a lab leak. So there you go.
You gotta watch some more YouTube videos.
I'm leading on the spicy one.
Oh no.
I respect the spicy topic there. Yeah. Yeah. I've always kind of had an interest in like the cryptid and conspiracy stuff. When I was younger, I'd always go into chapters with my dad. And I'd always be grabbing the alien books off the shelf. And he'd be sitting at the Starbucks enjoying his coffee, and I'd be there for like an hour and a half. I'd come back with like
What happened to my son?
6 books, and I'd start reading off alien encounters.
Why is
to
my
him.
son like this?
Yeah.
Why can't he just drink coffee with me?
I just started reading off alien encounters to him and everything like that, and it's just it.
And then his drinking
baffled
problem
me.
kicked in.
Yeah.
Wasn't coffee anymore.
I was just like flabbergasted by all these experiences that people were having, and I just wonder like, why isn't this stuff being talked about? This stuff is just so crazy, and it's crazy enough that it's so like absurd, but at the same point in time, like I've seen this pop up in different channels, but if there's like a crazy wacky story in our account, 99% of it could be fake. 99% of all these accounts could be all lies and mumbo jumbo, but there's still that 1% where you got to think to yourself like, okay, there's 1% chance that it's real, the 1% that it actually happened to. On any case, who knows?
Yeah,
But
that Taylor's a part of the 1%.
honestly, I'm too scared to be part of that 1%. Now, as far as it goes in believing in cryptids, I've kind of like gone head down into the rabbit hole, and I have to say like major shouts to Madison for kind of like standing by, because when I start going off on some of these stories and she just sits there and listens, like I don't know, like I can't read minds, and I don't know if she's really thinking like what a fucking lunatic, or like she's marrying me, so that's a good sign. I mean, but
Marrying, key word. Let's wait till the wedding happens. Yeah.
yeah.
As she's walking down the aisle, she'll be thinking about those cryptids, and then she just bolts it back. Pick me up a hole. Pick me up a hole.
The Jaws music in the bed.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
take it anymore.
Dun,
Fly open all the time at restaurants and public places.
Wear this monkey devil costume.
Just as far as cryptid goes, there's just the number one for me is Bigfoot. Now, there's some like really crazy ones that I've kind of like taken a liking to over the past year in terms of like they scare the living shit out of me.
What's the ape one again?
The skunk ape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that gets Travis. That's down like Florida, I believe, like Texas, those southern states. But something like a Bigfoot. I just think looking at the size of North America. I mean, the country is huge. There's so much forest. I mean, when you look at how much of North America is, like, we're in the 20% huddled by the border where it's all cities. And when you go further up north, I mean, you could probably say like 60 to 80% of North America is all forest. It's not burned to the ground yet, but it's all forest. And I'm totally stuck in that world where I believe what people are, most of what these people are saying. There's some that just like to say the stories just because they can say the stories, but the people that you ask to hear their stories, those are the ones that have, I think, a little bit of truth behind it. And there's a lot of cases that you go back like 50 years, and it's crazy, these things that they encounter, because you have experiences from other continents and other countries that have same mannerisms or uh, experiences as like present day, spaced out by like 100, 200 years, and all across the world. It's fascinating. So I'll continue investigating it again. Like, I'm terrified to go out into the woods. I am planning a trip out to go into the woods at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. But I am scared
God.
shitless to do it. I really am. It, I wouldn't go alone. No, I'd probably have Ruben if you guys want to come along. If you guys, yeah, if you want to come along, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll do some knocks. We'll do some knocks. And like I got a route planned out. I want to try and test out. But yeah.
You take that video footage. I'll edit it.
As far as like a conspiracy goes, I just think that the biggest one for me is just the aliens. I just think that they're here already. Again,
So what is a conspiracy? Like, is believing? Are you saying is believing aliens a conspiracy? Then
I think them saying like aliens being among us, aliens have landed. No mumbo jumbo. It's like that's not a case. Like I think they confirm, and that's what you see in reports. Like, oh, there's things that we can identify flying around, but they're not admitting it to being like a UFO. It's just an identified flying object.
If that's a conspiracy, I do believe that. That to me is just like a scientific fact of this. Just universe is too big to think that we're the only people here in it. Like there's no way in my mind that's possible. Like there has to be more out there that are hopefully not too more evolved than us. But
it's interesting because like I feel like I've gone again, like I said earlier, like I've gone back and forth on my conspiratory like gauge, I guess. And I used to be in the route of like, okay, no, it's just a given that like there is aliens, whether they're out there or here. Like it has to make sense because somewhere there's an Earth just like ours, and then if you buy into like the theory that universe literally is infinite, like that means that there's an infinite amount of situations like this. So like in one of those situations, 3 dudes are just talking about podcasting or something, because like if you're looking into infinity, it's forever. So just by like the numbers route, it has to make sense.
Oh my God!
I feel like one thing that kind of like changed my mind on it was like, well, since the Big Bang happened and the universe is expanding, technically, like in theory, it is possible, because it's just all probabilities. It is possible that
there's
we
a female version of myself that I can fuck, just like in Loki.
I was getting there, okay?
Yeah. Self-cessed.
Like, in theory, it could be possible that we are actually the most advanced race out there, right? Like, it could be possible that there's another planet with people in like caveman
classic
era.
white man thing to say. What a misogyny. Oh, we are the most powerful
and
race.
out there is a female version of Kirkland.
Yeah.
That was well worded.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's nothing that. Were you actually? Oh, I was gonna say, it's something that I never get tired of doing, but I just run out of ways to do it as far as thanking everyone here, but thanking everyone that listened, because it's just we've been doing it the past 6 years. You guys keep supporting us, like I said at the beginning, but it does really mean a lot, and you guys are pushing forward. Stay tuned, because next year we got lots more planned. As you can see, we did a big uptick as far as content and doing more stuff, and you guys have just been along with us for the ride. And as always, the more you support us, the more we'll try and get out there and do stuff. We do all this and all these casts while still balancing personal lives and jobs and kids and everything like that. But we appreciate that you guys appreciate us using our free time to entertain you. And this was lots of fun, gentlemen, as always. Wasn't a shock there. But again, that's the biggest thing, is just a big thank you to everyone that's made these past 6 years happen, whether you're a listener and part of the show. Anything you guys want to say before we close this out?
Do you have any lines you want me to read? Because I know last year I read some lines in the helium voice.
Oh, right. I don't know. Just promote a way where they can find us all over the interwebs and everything.
Like
you can give away Patreon, what everything you want to go. So this is Taylor's new annual thing that he's put upon himself. We don't make him hurt his lungs by grabbing a helium balloon and just spitting into it. But so he's cutting
spit
it.
into it. I thought you were supposed to inhale it.
Spit into the mic. That's how you do it.
You are confusing me even more.
Speaking of riddles,
my last line. I'm trying to remember that one GIF that I had with Sleepy Joe. What was it? It was like, we're not going anywhere. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's good shit.
Sleepy Joe. Come on. You Bernie boy.
What was that rap I did? Was that
Wet ass pussy, right?
That was, yeah. No, that wasn't. That was just you injured. But yeah, that was WAP. Yeah.
injured he did that? I thought he did that with helium.
No, he did that while he's injured.
Why did we make him do it while he was injured? That seems random.
I just want him to do it. WAP was the huge sensation, so.
Do you get like really lightheaded when you do that?
Oh yeah.
Should get him to do it, play some COD.
And thank you for tuning in to, oh my God, GeekVerse Space Podcast on the Twitter. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse Facebook. The voice is going higher. Anywhere on the interwebs, you can find us at GeekVerse Space, GeekVerse Podcast. My head is so dizzy.
I thought you said my hand.
It keeps going. What was that, Sleepy Joe?
Something about we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. We keep going on.
We ain't going anywhere. We're just getting started.
We ain't going anywhere. We're just getting started.
Every year,
That's so good.
every year, I don't think he's gonna get me, and he still gets me somehow with it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for these 6 years. We promise when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. Yeah, I feel like I'm always like expecting something, and then it's something different. It just gets me.
Oh, every time.
You gotta get that gas